Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic podcast. So I'm back with another stream. So I just wanted to do this stream because I just recently saw this debate or slash discussion between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan, and I thought it was interesting, and I figured I should just cover it. Because there's a lot of interesting things that brother Andrew Tate said. So So basically, what I wanted to do is that I've noticed that there's a lot of debate and discussion happening in regards to Israel and Palestine, and I feel like if and oftentimes what happens is that Muslims get challenged in these kind of like loaded questions. So I want to give you guys a proper structure on how to argue against Zionists, so you guys don't if you ever go into this kind of like debate or discussion, so that you guys don't look like fools or anything. you know so yeah, as of now no one's online yet, so we're gonna wait. But while we're waiting, let me share something. Uh, so so basically, one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're discussing things with like a Zionist is that first you have to establish a few frameworks, and I'm going to discuss this while we're watching the debate. Uh, and I feel like these things are very important to establish. And so, by the way, we have one viewer right now. If you guys, by the way, is the sound okay? Can you guys comment on the chat and let me know? Is the sound all right? Let me see if it's check on YouTube. So yeah, basically in this live stream, I'm basically gonna react to Andrew Tate's debate with Piers Morgan, inshallah. Let me just see if the sound is okay or not. Uh, yeah, it seems like okay. All right. Okay. So when it comes to like debating with like Zionists, I've noticed that Muslims sometimes make a few mistakes, and so I want to give you guys like a proper structure when it comes to this kind of like debate and discussion, because often what happens is that the Zionists will come with this like loaded question. They will start whining about October 7, this and that. So, so I want to share something with you guys. So, for you guys, if you ever get into this kind of debate or discussion position, you guys can argue better, right? Because the thing is that arguing for this position is important for a number of reasons. First, to debunk kind of like this Islamophobic nonsense, but also because, uh, you know, defending defending the Muslims and the Muslim land is actually very, very important, and that can happen in multiple front. And we have Islamic reasons to do that, and I'll talk about all of that, inshallah. But let's me share something with you guys. Where is that? Okay, here we go. Window. Okay, so I want to share this kind of like structure before kind of like we react to the Andrew Tate and like the debate thing. I think brother Andrew Tate did a decent enough job, to be honest. I don't think he was that bad, but like I do feel like there needs to be like a structure before you guys kind of like get into this kind of like discussion or like debate. So the first things you guys have to keep in mind is that first you have to establish the fact that why the Palestinian land actually belongs to the Palestinians, right? I know it sounds kind of odd, but this is something, one of the things that you guys have to establish. So, why Palestinian land belongs to Palestinian Arabs? Palestinian Arabs. Uh, yeah, here we go. So this is actually very important to establish. And there's a few ways you guys can establish this. So let's take a look at the debate that happened between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan to show that this is where usually things go wrong. Because if you don't establish this, then oftentimes what will happen is that they will say nonsense like, "Oh, this land belonged to us because of thousands of years ago," and instead, oftentimes the Muslim who's arguing for the position, Palestinian position, they cannot like defend because they didn't show like why the lands actually belong to the Arabs. So let me share something with you guys. Let me, the reason the Palestinian lands actually belong to the Arabs or Palestinian Arabs that are native to the land is because of this. So basically, this is a. Let me make it a bit bigger. So this is basically in Boston University archive. They basically talk about this. So they say the following: uh, in order to enlist the military and political support of the Arabs, Britain promises to support their struggle for independence in most of the lands hitherto ruled by Ottoman Turks, presumably including Palestine. Presumably including Palestine. So basically, what happened is that the Arabs helped the Brits against the Ottomans. As a result, the British promised the Arabs that they will help them gain independence in all the different lands, right? So, uh, and there's actually a letter that let me share. Where is it? That was written by a correspondent. This one. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, this one. So this is a letter that was written by this that is known as the McMahon letter. You can read about it in the Israel Arab Reader, third edition. Sir Henry McMahon. It was written by Sir Henry McMahon, who was a British High Commissioner in Cairo, writing on behalf of the British government. Right. So here are the things that he promised the Arabs. Right. Now they said that when it comes to the British Empire, they'll make some exceptions. For example, they will say that they will not help the Arabs in terms of Syria and some parts of Syria, right? However, when it comes to the other regions, and this includes Palestine, by the way, this is what they said. Subject to the above modifications, Great Britain is prepared to recognize and support the independence of the Arabs in all the regions within the limits demanded by the Sheriff of Makkah. So this says, and support the independence of the Arabs in all regions, including Palestine. So yeah, basically the the Brits, they promised the Arabs that they will help them establish a state, independent state, in Palestine, and then later on went back in their words, and they betrayed them, right, and gave the land to the Jews, or at least half of the land to the Jews. So this is a blatant betrayal, right? And so the reason why the land actually belonged to the Palestinian Arabs is not because of some thousands of years of thing, but because of mainly two reasons. This is where we go back to. Let me share the screen. Here we go. So because of two reasons. Number one is the Arabs are native to the land. Now, when I say the word native here, what do I mean here? So when I say native, this refers to so yeah, when I say the word native, I'm referring to people who lived in the land before the creation of the state. And this includes the Palestinian Arabs, who are mostly Muslim in this case, Arabs, but it can also include Christians and Jews as well. So the one of the number one reasons the land actually belongs to the Arabs is because they are natives to the land, right? And the second reason is because the British Empire promised the land to the Arabs. So yeah, these are the two main reasons why Palestine actually belongs to the Palestinian. Uh, so I hope this is clear, because the thing is that this is something you guys have to establish before like you guys get into any kind of like this debate or discussion. So let's now take a look at Brother Andrew Tate and what he says in regards to this. So in case you guys don't know, again, I'm reacting to Brother Andrew Tate's debate with like Piers Morgan, because I thought it was interesting, and there's a lot of interesting things that he says. So let's take a look at that, inshallah, and let me know if the sound is okay. Right now, one person is watching, which is fine. Inshallah, more will join soon. So let's take a look at what he says, and we'll get to it. Bismillah. Oh, by the way, before we get to anything, let me just go with the intro. I didn't show the intro yet. Yeah, Bismillah. All right. Okay, let's get to this one.
I want to turn to the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. What is your view of this war?
I think when you call it a war, you're doing a disservice to the people who are having their limbs blown off by some of the most advanced technical weaponry on the planet. It is a genocide, and it is disgusting. It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on. When you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes, you should be disgusted.
Which side is waging genocide?
The Israelis are
Like, the fact that he even asked this question is so dumb. Let me look at his dumb face. Hold on. Where is he? Which side?
disservice to the people who are having their limbs blown off by some of the most advanced technical weaponry on the planet. It is a genocide, and it's disgusting. And it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on. When you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes, you should be disgusted.
Which side is waging genocide?
Look at this dude. Like we said, now he wants brother Andrew to discuss or define which side is like declaring genocide. I don't know, Piers. Like, which side killed nearly 15,000 people, which is, by the way, a huge chunk of the total population, compared to I don't know, like a 1,000 population. Like, you compare the numbers. Like, what does it seem like? Which side is indiscriminately killing more civilians? Which side is blocking water and food? Like, which side is in constant violation of international law? Like, by the way, all of these things are against international law. Like, forget international law. Like, and if you guys know that the word genocide basically refers to when you try to exterminate an entire group of people based on either their race, religion, or ethnicity, right? Race, religion, or nationality, sorry. These are the three criteria. And all of this is taking place in this conflict. Because the thing is that, and this is another thing that you have to keep in mind, which is that you need to establish genocidal intent, and that's very easy to do. Establishing genocidal intent is very easy to do. I mean, if you look at some of these articles, like, for example, let me share one of the papers that I actually shared in my last video, and I showed one of the ministers, of the Israeli political party, openly saying that where is it? There we go. Let me share this. Yeah, here we go. New deputy defense minister called Palestinians animals. By the way, this guy is a minister. Just in case you guys are confused, he's supposedly a rabbi and he's a minister. This is what he said. Ben Dahan, hold on, let me read a few more. As part of the coalition agreement reached between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Jewish Home Party on Thursday, MK Eli Ben Dahan, a rabbi who's made controversial statement about Palestinians, and Anju will serve as Israel's next deputy defense minister. So this guy is a defense minister, so he's not just some random person. Ben Dahan has made controversial remarks about Palestinians while discussing the resumption of peace talks to a radio interview in 2013. Ben Dam said that to me, they are like animals. They aren't human. So like, like how confusing is it? Like they're saying it openly. They're literally saying it. They're saying that Palestinians are not humans. Of course, when you have a situation where you have a lot of like animals, you can kill the animals. Like it doesn't matter, right? So, of course, this is genocidal intent because obviously, you cannot just go around killing civilians. But if you think that these aren't civilians, then clearly you can kill as much as you like. So this is clear genocidal intent. And then they said the Palestinians aren't educated towards peace, nor do they want it, he said. So this pure racist garbage. And here Piers Morgan is saying which side is genocidal. Like, subhanallah, man. So, oh, by the this is one of the things that you guys have to establish, which is what I was talking about. Where is it? Here we go. Which is so if you're ever in a discussion or debate with on this topic, the thing that you have to do is prove genocide, and this is very important uh, because this is a crime against humanity, and I think this is something that that scares this Zionist a lot. Is to when you say things like, oh, they're committing genocide. So one of the things, in order to prove that this is genocide, you have to first first show that Israel is an apartheid state, which meaning like first you have to show that these Zionists are racist, right? So first things you have to show is oh, I spelled it. So yeah, this is something that guys have to prove first, which is that Israel is an apartheid state, and this is very easy to prove. I mean, like it's embedded in their law. I mean, legally, Palestinians like it's they're in their constitution. It says that this is a Jewish state. What that means is that this is a country only for the Jews, or at least it's a country where only Jews are allowed to have power over other people, right? And in their law, in their constitution, anyone who doesn't recognize this can't even get into politics. Like they cannot run an election unless they recognize this. So, so yeah, and as you guys saw, these guys are clearly racist because they don't even see Palestinians as human beings. So of course, like this isn't difficult to prove, and this shows genocidal intent, right? And also, like there are other instances which we can show, such as saying things like, we want to kill all Palestinians. They actually did say like they want to kill all Palestinians. For example, as you guys know, Netanyahu openly said that don't forget what Amalek has done to you. Then one of the ministers, he said that he is open to like nuke Gaza. So these are all kind of like genocidal intent. So this is number two, is that they showed genocidal intent. So of course, and another thing, is that they're racist. They are racist. So, so all of this, if you combine them, then it clearly shows that these people have genocidal intent. Because first, they have a system where only one race of people are allowed to be citizens in their country, unequivocally, like without any condition, where other race of people aren't. So you have two laws for two different people. So it's an apartheid state. Number two is that they show clear genocidal intent. You know, again, their ministers have come out and said that we want damage, not accuracy. They've said things like they've invoked Amalek, which is a clear example of genocide. And of course, like they're racist, as I just showed you guys. Their ministers are openly saying that Palestinians are animals. So all of this prove genocidal intent. Let me just genocidal intent. This is proving genocidal intent. Now let's continue with Brother Andrew Tate, and then we'll take it from there. And the reason I'm going through all of this is because this guy is such a shameless like douchebag that he doesn't realize that. It's not that he doesn't realize, he knows very well this is genocide. They're openly saying it, and yet he's denying it. So anyway, let's continue.
The Israelis are genociding the Palestinians, and you know it as well as everybody else does. Well, then it seems like your bosses are not allowing you to know it.
What do you think of what Hamas did on October 7th?
Why are you starting the story in the middle?
I just asked you about the wider war. I'm now asking you
can't
specifically
professionally.
about.
I cannot professionally answer that question without talking about the context that led up to October 7th.
Well, nothing to my mind.
Yeah, and then they'll bring up the October 7 nonsense. And again, like we've talked about this, like the reason they do this is because they want to completely decontextualize the situation, right? But of course, if you guys are not familiar, before October 7, and I talked about this, there have been many examples. Oh, sorry, I closed it. Okay, there have been many examples of violence against Palestinians. Nearly 30 kids were killed, according to Amnesty International. Nearly 200 to 300 innocent civilians were killed shot by the IDF in West Bank and other places. Countless houses has been displaced. They stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque. So all of this led to October 7. Now, of course, when it comes to October 7, a lot of the reports, for example, if you read Haaretz, it clearly came out and they said that Israelis actually shot their own citizens in many cases. There have been cases of where they shelled their own houses. So again, like from a military perspective, like if you like imagine this, right? Imagine that if I'm in a country and I'm being attacked, like what do you expect me to do? Of course, I'm going to defend, and then I'm going to go on counteroffensive. That's exactly what happened. It's not that Palestinians all of a sudden, out of nowhere, started attacking the Netanyahu's and like this kind of like freaks that are going around calling Palestinians animals, even though they probably shouldn't. That these guys are like, they're just sitting around, or the Israelis just peacefully, drinking their tea and eating fake hummus, and they just all of a sudden attacked. That's not what happened. Let's continue.
Justifies what happened on October 7th.
Nothing justifies what happened before October 7th. This exact point. So you're talking to a man. I don't know what answer you expect.
Now, this is actually a good response because, yeah, I mean, like nothing justifies what happened before. So why is it that they only want to focus on like what happened on October 7? Again, it's a distraction tactic because like they don't actually care about October 7. I don't think so. Because if they did, first thing they would, try to do is, get their hostage out, which is something they didn't do. So I find it bizarre that he's questioning him about this without completely ignoring all the things that came before.
for me. Because let's forget the fact that I'm a Muslim. You're talking to a man who is fighting oppression to the best of his ability because he believes that the people in charge of the world are enslaving us all, to the point where I detriment my own life. I end up in a jail cell because I'm speaking against oppression. Then you're asking me what I would do if my family was going to pieces?
You're not in a jail.
You asked me what I would do if another government came along and blew my family to pieces?
You weren't put in a jail cell because of any oppression.
Absolutely, I was.
You weren't.
Of course
You
I
were put
was.
in jail cell because you've been accused of serious sexual
I would not
crimes.
have been accused if I was not monumentally successful in speaking the truth.
Let me ask you again. It's a simple question.
Now, in regards to October 7, I think the best approach is to simply say that if there has been crimes that has been committed against civilians, which is to say, which is against Islamic law, then yes, in those cases, those instances were wrong, both under international law and under Islamic law. However, this doesn't justify the actions that Israel is now taking, because that is also a violation of international law and Islamic law. So what they're saying is that because some members of Hamas have committed crimes, therefore all of Hamas is guilty of crime. That's a fallacy. That's a fallacy known as history generalization. Let me show you guys the fallacy here. I think I have it. Where is it? Okay. Give me a moment. I'm sure I have the animation here somewhere of all the fallacy animations. There we go. History generalization. So basically what this fallacy entails is that you take a particular small number of people and their actions, and then you generalize a whole group based on that. Obviously, that's logically fallacious. You can't do that. You cannot judge a whole group of people by a smaller number of people, right? Okay, it's this one. Now, it is completely justified if you say things like, okay, I want particular Hamas members to be punished or at least brought to justice based on the crimes they committed under some kind of international law, in a court, in a proper court system. However, what doesn't justify is to label Hamas as an entire organization, as a terrorist group, and try to kill all of them. Like, that is psychopathic. That is psychopathic. Like, imagine this, right? Imagine you're a cop and one of the cops shot a civilians. Will you then in this case kill all cops in the district? No. That's obviously absurd. You bring people who have committed the crime in justice, but the ones who are innocent, you try to negotiate with them, right? You try to say why what happened was wrong, right? So clearly, the reason they're doing this is not because they want to dismantle Hamas or anything like that. It's because they hate Arabs and they want to kill as many as possible, which makes much more sense than to say that, they're doing this because because of Hamas, as if because the thing is that if that was the case, they would have talked to Hamas and said that, hey, who are the people that were responsible for this, and let's bring them to justice. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is completely absurd, which is that punishing an entire group based on the crimes of a few, right? As a matter of fact, we can prove this by their own videos. Even the supposed 40-minute videos of supposed Hamas atrocity that they published, even in that, some Hamas members have said that, or Hamas members have said that, when they're about to shoot someone, they said that save your bullets for the fighters. So clearly, they made some distinctions to separate the civilians from the armed people or the military, right? So some efforts were there. So if someone says that all of Hamas they hate all Israelis, it's false. So yeah, that's a very important point to point out. But let's continue.
Question. Some people can answer it straight away, including pro-Palestinian people I've had on my program. Many are very quick to say, absolutely. Do you believe Hamas are a terror organization?
And that's a very interesting question, but I think you're peddling asininities.
Well, just answer the question.
Can somebody do me a favor? Google asininities and find out if it's
I know what it means.
If it's not, make sure it's added to Webster. I'll help you use words.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Let me Google asininity. Asininity. Oh, I got it. Let me share the screen. Asininity. Definition of asininity: the quality of being asinine Stupidity combined with stubbornness. Well, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, at this point, like Piers Morgan got slapped so hard by so many pro-Palestinians, like it's embarrassing at this point.
Just, are they a terror group?
You're peddling acidities because I'll tell you why. Let me answer.
No, I'm not.
Of course you are.
Simple question.
That's like me
I
asking.
tell you why. Because the UK, where you were born, prescribes Hamas as a terror
They also
organization.
prescribe me as dangerous to children in schools. Let me explain something to you, Piers.
You're not
If I were to
prescribed
say-
as
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I mean, like if you go by like this kind of appeal to authority fallacy, which is that whatever the authority says is right, then there are a lot of countries that don't recognize Israel as a country. So that will you then dismiss Israel and their right to exist? So it's like a bizarre logic. As a matter of fact, I think I can show you guys a wiki page that shows how many people actually don't recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization. Uh, let me show it to you guys. So I think I have it. So basically, I showed this in my the last video I made. So as you guys can see, hold on, let me share that. Let me share this. Give me a moment. There we go. Okay, let me share. So if you go to this like wiki page and you go to the countries that recognize Hamas, here we go. So these are the countries, according to Tobias Bach, Hamas is listed as a terrorist organization by Israel, the US, and the EU, but few dare to treat it that way now. In the Arab and Muslim world, it has lost its pariah status and its MNS are welcome in the capitals of Islamic countries. While Hamas is considered a terrorist group by several governments and some academics, others regard Hamas as a complex organization with terrorism or some militant component. So these are the countries that recognize them as terrorists versus what the ones that do not. So if Australia and all these kind of like green countries are basically don't recognize them as terrorists. For example, you have Iran, India, Jordan, and then you have Norway. So all of these countries, most countries actually don't recognize Hamas as like terrorist organization. So these people are actually in the minority. Yeah, so these people are actually in the minority. So if we don't, if we also like this is kind of like such a dumb logic because what they're essentially saying is that if some members of an organization commits a crime, that instead of punishing those, isolating and punishing those particular members, they should say that the whole institution is guilty. But the thing is that if that's the case, that because the Israeli settlers have been, attacking Palestinians for such a long period of time, then does this mean that all Israelis are not guilty because of that? And doesn't that justify the October 7 attack? It's a bizarre logic. So clearly, this is a history generalization fallacy, and it's a stupid logic.
If I would sit here and say, is stealing wrong? And you'd say yes. And I go, but what if the person stealing is trying to feed their family and they don't, the family are going to die? Is it still wrong? You're trying to take a very nuanced and complicated argument and reduce it down to one sentence, which is failure.
You're trying to equate stealing with a mob of terrorists breaking over a border, going to peaceful...
Is that what Israel is?
Wait a minute.
A mob of
Wait a
terrorists
minute.
breaking over
Let me
borders
finish.
and killing people. Is that what Israel is?
Going through a border on October the 7th.
Oh, October 7th.
And massacring young people at a festival, massacring families in their homes and setting fire to them, cutting their heads off, killing babies.
Oh, killing
Yeah. Like when you drop buildings, entire buildings on children and whole families, what do you think happens? It's not nice. Like there are pictures of like what happened in there. Like, and some of those things are so gruesome that I can't even show. You have situations where entire family members have been completely chopped up in pieces, you know. So clearly this is like so this kind of like victim complex, it goes both ways. Like it doesn't like really justify anything. And of course I showed in my previous video, if you guys haven't seen it, I read out the names of the victims of the Israeli assault. The majority of them are children. So it's absurd logic. But regardless, let's continue.
babies, that was true.
Well, fine.
Were the babies vaccinated?
Why are you being flippant?
I'm not being flippant. The point I'm
I
making,
find that funny.
No, but the point I'm making is that the media lies. Firstly,
No,
secondly,
I can ask
secondly,
you. I can ask you about different things at the same time, right?
Sure.
So I'm asking you first of all, specifically, what is your reaction to what happened on October the 7th?
Sure, I'll answer the question professionally. I do not condone the loss of human life on either side. I think anybody doing anything which directly damages civilians is disgusting and abhorrent. However, I would be an amateur if I could not sit and pretend I do not understand the motivations behind either side. This is not even me taking a side. I understand why Israel is doing what it's doing. I understand why Palestine is doing what it's doing. However, I still call the Israeli actions absolutely abhorrent and genocidal.
Okay, we're going to come to Israel's actions, I promise you.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like the most simple take you can take. You know, sure. I mean, even if that is the case, you put forth, which is that you think that both sides are wrong, etc., etc. You still cannot say that that what Israelis are doing are right. Clearly, they're in violation of the rules of morality that there's no such setup. So yeah.
We will ask that question specifically. But in terms of what Hamas did on October the 7th, do you accept that was an act of terrorism?
It's an interesting question because
It's not really.
It is.
It's
No,
a very
truly,
straightforward
because
question.
you're the person who would have called Nelson Mandela a terrorist while he was still in jail, and one person's terrorist and another person's freedom fighter.
I wouldn't
For me
have
to
called
answer the question, yes, you would have. For me to answer the question, I have to be very professional, Piers. For me to sit on the outside in Romania with no personal involvement in Israel-Palestine, it's easy for me to say yes, it was an act of terror. However, if I was in Gaza, if I was in an open-air prison, if my family had been annihilated by bombs from the sky, if everybody I knew had suffered the loss of a loved one, if I had no chance of any kind of freedom or democracy or standard of life, would I believe it was an act of terror, or would I believe it's an act of resistance against oppression? You have to be very careful how you answer these
So what do you
questions.
think?
I think I understand.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something like a lot of people talked about, which is that the conditions that they're in, like it's not like no one in those conditions would like be like normal people. Like if you like starve people, like I don't know if you guys have like starved for like days. If you like starve, imagine like every day waking up and standing in line just to get water, right? If you live in those kind of conditions and you have no hope and you have no water, no food, no electricity, or limited number of electricity, you can get medicine, you can like get anything. And majority of like Palestinians are refugees and you're not allowed to even visit your homeland. So at this point, and like when you do peaceful protest, like for example they did in the March of Return, and they were shot and they are brutally killed, then like what do? Like there's nothing to do here. It's clearly a blatant violation. So at that point, and when no one is like thinking about what's going on, no one is caring, what do you do in this situation? And as normal figures put it, like they didn't have any choice. I mean, because the thing is that they have to do something. They cannot just roll over and die, because that's the thing. That's what they want. They want Palestinians to roll over and die. They want to take over Al-Aqsa, Masjid Al-Aqsa, instead of fighting. And the whole Western world wants this. So it's so blatantly obvious that that's exactly what they want, and that's exactly what he's saying. So if you like just look through all of this, they want Palestinians to simply roll over and die. That's it.
What happens when you take people and put them in such an inhumane condition? So
I think
anybody to sit and say that you're going to take people and put them in absolutely inhumane conditions and give them no standard of life, and they're not allowed to ever fight back, or they are
But I can
terrorists.
agree with
Anyone
you.
who does that is an amateur.
I can agree with you that the plight of the Palestinians for many decades has been absolutely shameful.
So what did we think was going to happen,
Wait a
Piers?
minute. No, nothing justifies what happened on October 7th.
So what are they
nothing,
supposed to do?
Nothing.
So what are they supposed to
That
do?
was an act of medieval barbaric terrorism. Nothing justifies
Did
it.
they suffer
And you're
acts of-
Then he says that nothing justifies. Yeah, but when Israel does it, it's justified all of a sudden. When Israel sets people on fire, like they shoots like innocent kids, puts them in prison, tortures them. That's another thing, by the way. Like they like put like a bunch of innocent people in jail without any trial. That's completely fine. That's legitimate. But if you fight back, you're a terrorist. Like, by the way, I'm gonna take a bit of a break, and I'm gonna be right back, inshallah, to take care of something. So I'm gonna be right back. Let me stop sharing the screen. I'll be right back. Give me 3 or 4 minutes. This is something I have to take care of. So yeah, I'll be right back, inshallah. So yeah, I'll be right back. My throat is dried out now, so I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna discuss more of these arguments in regards to proving genocidal intent. We've already gone through some of it, and we're going to react to the rest of the debate, inshallah. Give me 1 minute, and I'm going to be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to drink some water. My throat was getting numb. So, by the way, guys, make some comments. Is the sound okay? Is everything okay? Is the video quality? Let me know. Uh, oh, we have 0 people watching. By the way, guys, leave some comment. Don't just watch. I want to discuss with you guys. Please leave some feedback in the comments. Where are the IDF trolls? The other day, they were like everywhere in the comments. All right, let's go back to discussing what we're talking about. So, as we were talking about, so the first things, as I mentioned, first you have to establish when you're debating or discussing the Palestinian issue. First thing you have to establish is why the Palestinian land belonged to the Palestinian Arabs. And there are 2 reasons. One, the Arabs are native to the land. And number 2, the British Empire promised the land to the Arabs. And I show evidence of this. The British High Commissioner in the 19th century, long before he said anything to the Jewish people, they promised the land to the Arabs because they helped them fight the Ottomans. So even from a legal point of view, the land was promised to the Arabs, so it should belong to the native Arabs. And of course, the word native, when I say the word native, I'm talking about people who lived in the land before the creation of the state. Then what you have to do is you have to prove genocide. Again, very easy to do. You have to show genocidal intent, show the fact that, Israel is a apartheid state. It's a country where only Jewish people are allowed to stay, where if you're a native Palestinian, you're not allowed to stay, which is clearly racist. And then you have to show genocidal intent, which is that, they have constantly showed their willingness to kill Palestinians. They go every year and mows the lawn, as they call it. And there are countless videos where their ministers have said that they want to kill all Palestinians. They will get no food or water. They said things like, they will completely flatten the entire of Gaza. They said things like, remember what they did to Amalek, which is a clear reference to the biblical genocide. And of course, they're racist. I mean, like as I just showed you guys, one of the ministers, they clearly, refer to Palestinians as, as human animals, and another one said that, or Palestinians are basically animals. So all of these things show genocidal intent. So then, after you show all this, there's another thing that is very important to, which is important to show, which is that uh, you know when you're committing genocide, right? When you're committing genocide, one thing that kind of like is obvious is that when you see a duck, if it's quack like a duck, if it acts like a duck, it's a duck. And so you have to look at the actions, right? Actions of genocide. Actions of genocide. Oh, misspelled it. Genocide. So now that we have shown intent, now we're going to show actions. The first one, obviously, here we go, is that they have killed more civilians than militant. Have killed more civilians than militants. And this is a blatant red flag. I mean, I don't even need to mention this, but in most cases, oh, why is it two of this? Oh, here we go. So yeah, they have killed more civilians than militants. If you look at the ratio, they killed like 100 civilians as compared to for one militant, supposedly. Uh, they took no. Minimize civilian casualty. So usually when in warfare, you have to minimize civilian casualty as much as possible. If an army is not doing that and they show clear genocidal intent, then they're trying to commit genocide. Okay, it's not rocket science. As a matter of fact, let's look at some evidence that shows that they actually did not try to minimize civilian casualties. If you look at one Amnesty International report, let me just share it. I don't know if you have it saved here or not. Give me a moment. So I'm going to share a Amnesty International report, which clearly show that they did not warn civilians. Here we go. Let me share the screen. Aryan Mehta says, "Yo, bro, Assalamu alaikum, bro. How are you?" We're reacting to Andrew Tate's debate with like Piers Morgan, and I'm also discussing how to debate with these Zionist trolls. You know, what's up? I'm well, alhamdulillah. So yeah, as I was saying, I was reacting to Andrew Tate's debate, and also I was kind of like bringing up evidence that clearly shows that Israel is trying to commit genocide against the Palestinians, and how you guys can prove it in a debate or discussion, and why it's important to prove it. Because if you can prove a case where they clearly, we have good reason to believe that they're committing genocide, then we can call it genocide, right? Because Piers Morgan, he constantly denies this idea that, oh, Israel cannot possibly commit genocide, even though their ministers clearly say that Palestinians are not even human. How could they ever commit genocide, even though they have committed multiple mass murders in the past? But anyway, so this is a report by Amnesty International. If you can take a look at this, this is from Amnesty International. So they conducted an investigation, and they looked into the claim of like them warning civilians, because this is something they'll constantly regurgitate, right? They'll constantly say, "Oh, we warned civilians, right? We warned civilians, so we're innocents." Except if you look at
Shit.
Except if you actually look at what actually happens, that's not the case. So Amnesty International, they actually went to Gaza and looked at this claim that do they actually warn civilians? And the thing is, they actually do not. So for example, let's read. It says inadequate warnings. Inadequate warnings. In the case documented, sorry, there we go. In the case documented by Amnesty International, the organization repeatedly found that the Israeli military had either not warned civilians at all or issued warnings which were inadequate. Inadequate. In some cases, they informed a single person about a strike which affected whole buildings or streets full of people, or issued unclear evacuation orders which left residents confused about the timeline. In no cases did Israeli forces ensure civilians had a safe place to evacuate to. In one case, on Jabalia market attack, this has happened recently, people had left their homes in response to an evacuation order, only to be killed in the place to which they fled. So all of this clearly shows that they don't care about minimizing civilian casualty. Uh, Aryan Mehta says this report was rigged. I read article about it on New York Times about Amnesty International. What do you think about it? No, it's not rigged. Amnesty International is well known and independent investigative body of organization. They're not affiliated with like Hamas or anything like that. So I don't know which New York Times article said that, but that's clearly a lie. Also, you don't have to like take this as a thing, because thing is like this. Use simple logic. Like, do you think that this many civilian casualties just randomly happen? No, it's because they are not warning civilians. Okay, I mean, do you think that a family, if they're warned that we're gonna bomb your residential building, they're gonna stay there? No, of course not. So they're clearly lying. Now, of course, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying about everything. I'm sure they do put out warnings, but even if they do, it's not adequate. So yeah, I don't like if someone's saying that this report is rigged. Ask them for evidence. What evidence do they have that this is supposedly rigged? But the thing is that there are many eyewitness testimony which also says the same thing. But they say that they were not warned. And you can just go to Gaza and ask the people yourself. But the point is that, yeah, there's no case of like warning people. Or even when they do warn people, you know, by the way, can you share the article that says that? Because I can debunk it right now if you have the link. Because I'm pretty sure it's bogus or kind of like Zionist propaganda. Because New York Times itself has been affiliated with pro-Zionist talking points in many cases. So most of American media actually is. So I wouldn't take their word for it either. But anyway, so that's one point, which again like clearly shows that. Let me share the screen. Okay. Yeah. So this is the things that shows the actions of genocide, which is the first one being they have killed more civilians than militants, which they did. They took no action to minimize civilian casualties. And you don't have to look at any report. Like, you can just look at what's happening on the ground. Like, how many civilians they have killed compared to how many militants have been killed. Because the thing is that if this was really the case, that they were trying to actually minimize civilian casualties, this wouldn't have happened. Because you need to understand, Israel is not some random idiot on the street that doesn't have communication with like Arabic speakers that cannot directly communicate with the civilians. They can tell them, look, we're going to bomb your building, leave. They have to give them enough time to leave, or they can even send in ground troops to tell them, look, we're going to bomb the area, right? Or anything like that. Or even like, and that's the thing, right? They can do all of this, but they didn't do anything. This clearly shows that they didn't, try to minimize civilian casualties. So this is a lie. And also another thing is that even if I was to accept this, that they are warning people, that still doesn't give them justification to bomb a residential building, right? So that's one thing. They took no action to minimize civil casualties. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that Gaza people in Gaza have nowhere to go. Yeah, this is another thing because you need to understand, like, people in Gaza can't go anywhere. So if you bomb them, they're just stuck, because it's a very densely populated area. And another thing that shows that they have nowhere to go is that Egypt is not taking in refugees. So clear, and they know this, and they're still, you know, bombing people, which again shows that they try to commit genocide. Another thing is that obviously they blocking water, food, blocks water, food, which also a war crime. Uh, oh, brother Sydney Football is here. Assalamu alaikum, bro. How are you? How's it going? Yeah, it's going okay, alhamdulillah. I was reacting to and responding to the debate and reviewing it based on the debate between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan. I like how Zionists say it isn't genocide. Yeah, that's what I was trying to show because Piers Morgan in the beginning of the debate, he said, "Oh, it's not genocide. Who's genociding who?" Like, this is literally what we have to do. We have to like break down why it's a genocide. So that's basically what I was doing. And so basically, what I'm trying to do, I'm going to show you guys how to prove that it's a genocide, and they're literally openly saying it, and that's exactly what they're doing. And yet, Western kind of like media outlets are like, "Oh, what genocide? What are you talking about?" Israel is going crazy over losing the information war badly. They've resorted to extreme desperate tactics. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it has not gone well for them. They're completely been absolutely demolished. Like every single guest that Piers Morgan brought in completely destroyed him. Like every single one of them. Piers Morgan pro-Palestine in 2014. Now he isn't allowed to be. Yeah, I've heard that as well. By the way, do you have any kind of like video clips that show his pro-Palestinian stance back in 2014? I would really appreciate it because I could react to it right now. And yeah, yeah, I heard that too. I think it's probably because he's getting paid now, so he can't like just say that he's against, against the Zionist regime. But that's how it goes. It's about money, guys. Money. There's this meme of like Chinese Elon Musk who says things like money. I don't know if you guys saw the meme. But anyway, so yeah, that's another thing. They block water and food. Now, obviously, if you're blocking water and food and basic or also medicine, yeah, if you're blocking water, food, and supplies, and you know that there are people who cannot survive without it, that's genocide. Like that's genocide. Like there's no other way to put it. I mean, they have like babies in incubators who literally cannot survive without electricity. Oh, another thing, yeah, electricity. I forgot. Electricity. Electricity. So yeah, they block water, food, medicine, and electricity, which is clear war crime. Another thing is that, so yeah, basically they have killed more civilians than militants. They took no no action to minimize civilian casualties. People in Gaza have nowhere to go. They have blocked water, food, and medicine. And another thing is that, oh yeah, they are uh, bombing places that are supposed to be safe. Are supposed to be safe, thus contradicting themselves. Contradicting themselves. Yeah, this is another thing. So I don't know if you guys noticed. So basically, at first they kind of bombed the south of Gaza, and then they told people to go to the north or something like that. Hold on, let me. Brother Sydney Football says, just go to Mohammed Hijab's recent tweets. He posted a photo of Piers Morgan pro-Palestinian tweets in 2014. Really? Let me check. Let me see. I might be able to find it here. Mohammed Hijab tweet. I'm gonna have to sign into. All right. Okay, it's loading. Let me see. All right, hold up. Here we go. With hijab. Let me share the screen. There we go. Great interview. German tour. I can't find 2 years of war. Can't find it. Do you have a link to it, bro? Oh wait, I think I found it. 2014. He said, "There we go. At what point does Israel's current military strategy become the very terrorism it is professed to be fighting?" Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at that. Yeah, like he was. It seems like he was pro-Palestinian. So what happened? All of a sudden, like Israel, and then stops being, a terrorist. I don't know. I wonder what happened. What might have happened? That's crazy. Brother Sydney Football says Bangladesh lost to Australia 7-0 in Melbourne, then drew with Lebanon 1-1, by the way. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Oh, all right. He posted a photo as well. Just keep scrolling. Okay. May- oh, hold on. Let me find it. I don't see any photos. Hold on. Let me. Yeah. Brother Aryan Mehta said, "Can you please answer my question?" Speaking of which, are you an Indian? Your name sounds like Indian. Anyway, which question, by the way? He said, "Can you answer my question?" Which question? I don't see any question. Oh, you mean this one? I would answered it. I need to see the article because I don't believe like New York Times has the authority to say somehow without any evidence or arguments to say the Amnesty and a report by Amnesty International is not reliable, because everyone knows Amnesty International is one of the most reliable human rights organization, and they're a third party. They're not like taking either stand on either side. At least that's what my mate showed me. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably take a look at it later on. Anyway, as I was saying, let me share the screen. There we go. Okay, so these are the things that shows that they're clearly committing genocide, which is that they have killed more civilians than militants. They took no actions to minimize civilians' casualty. People in Gaza have nowhere to go. Blocks water, food, and water, medicine, and electricity. They're bombing places they're supposed to be safe, thus contradicting this. Oh yeah, so as I was explaining, so basically they're telling people to go to the north, not north. Uh, where were they telling them to go? South. Yeah. So basically, there's article by Routers where they showed that they're at one point telling them to go south and then bombing them in the south. Right? Let me. Here we go. Why is Israel attacking South Gaza after telling people to go there. So basically, they're contradicting themselves. At one point, when they started bombing, they said, "You should go south. We should go south. Right? We're gonna bomb north of Gaza." And then what happens? They start bombing south. So they're contradicting themselves. The only way you can make sense of this is if their intention is to simply scare and kill as many Palestinians as possible until they leave the land. That's what they're trying to do. So yeah, this is clearly genocidal intent because it shows that they want to keep killing as many Palestinians as possible until they leave, which again like proves a genocidal action. Because what if they don't leave? So are they gonna kill everyone? If they do, then yes, this is what is happening right now is a clear example of genocide. So I don't think anyone can argue against this. You know. So let me do that as well. Anyway. Uh, I commented a new question. Can you read it? I don't see any question. What are you talking about? There's no question here. Anyway, let's get back to the debate discussion with Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan. Yeah, I'm seeing the chat. Anyway, so yeah, let's continue, inshallah, and can take it from there.
Did they suffer acts of medieval barbaric terrorism before that date? Yes. And it's unfortunately an eye for an eye in this world.
Tell me-
I'm not condoning.
give me-
I'm being a professional and answering
Give me
you
one
why it
example.
happened.
Give me one example of where Israel, without any provocation, went into. No, wait. A specific question. Went into Gaza and massacred 1,500 innocent.
Are you able to see the chat? Yeah, I can see the chat. I don't see your question. You can please can you like pose the question again? Like, what was the question? Anyway, let's continue.
People cutting their heads off, taping and boasting about what they've done back to their families in Israel, kidnapping Holocaust survivors, bringing them. They wouldn't, of course, have done that naked, kidnapping old grandmothers.
Yes, because like the Israelis are not beheading people. Like they are literal bodies, like bodies of children that has been completely sliced up and destroyed and incinerated. And here this guy's whining about like beheadings.
And bringing them back to Israel, kidnapping babies.
Also, like just look at the numbers. How many people have they killed versus how many people have they killed? Like the thing is that when you drop a whole building on top of someone, and I've seen kind of like some of the pictures. I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't recommend checking it out, but some of the pictures were extremely horrific. Like I remember this one time they bombed I don't know, a refugee center, I believe, and you could see the rubble, right? You could see the rubble, and some of the rubbles had bricks that were completely covered in blood. That were completely covered in blood because they're literally crushing people, you know. And it's absolutely disgusting and inhumane way to die. So the fact that these guys now have throwing crocodile tears when in 2014 he was pro-Palestinian is like it tells like this is so obvious. This guy's clearly getting paid to talk media, or talk TV, whatever it is, and he probably doesn't want to piss off his boss, so he's not supporting the Zionists. Brother Sidney Phillips says, "Bro, the pictures increase my blood pressure. Deeply disturbing." Yeah, I mean, like there's so many pictures. Like if we wanted to, we could make like a 10-hour long video of all the clips, all the horrific clips that have come out, and then show the. By the way, did guys know that IDF is now apparently showing journalists the 40 minutes of footage of like October 7? I mean, if we wanted to do something like that, we would have like hours and hours of footage, right? We'll have like 20 hours of footage, an entire season of TV, you know, all the barbarity that they showed towards the Palestinians. But of course, we don't need to do that. Anyone can just go on Google and search for those pictures. So if you look at the scale of savagery, what Israel has done has never been done before in any warfare. It's a record number. They killed a record number of people. They killed way more people than Russia did in Ukraine, and it's insane. Like did the amount of damage that it would take to, like, if you drop like 2 atomic bombs. Then this guy says, if it is a genocide, we literally can't do anything about it. What do you think? Uh, we can try to stop it, as I'm trying to raise awareness. We can try to stop it, because the thing is that we can reduce America's influence. Because the thing is that as much as we criticize America, not everyone in America likes this kind of behavior. As a matter of fact, a large majority doesn't. So if we can get America to stop backing Israel, I think that would like immediately stop a lot of the nonsense that they're doing. Uh, the other senior says, "Did you see the clips of Israeli hostage getting released?" Yeah, I did actually. I was actually looking at some of those hostages, and and the thing is that some of it made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of it was very emotional. You could clearly see they were being tortured and just put in just absolutely inhumane condition. I mean, just think about it, right? Like you live in a free country, and then all of a sudden these forces comes, and like or someone comes to take off your hijab or like harasses you. By the way, most of the people were arrested from West Bank. And what is Israel doing in West Bank? I was serious to think about it. Like most of the arrests that happened in West Bank. So why are they there in the West Bank? And I just think about it, because that's not their borders. That is outside of the borders. The reason they're in the West Bank is because they're in violation of international law. So imagine imagine this: you break into another country, and then people of the country fight back and say that, hey, why are you here? And then you kick those and you beat those country people of that country up and then put them in jail. like, does this logic is logicking? Like, does it make sense? And then supposedly they're the bad guys, like evil terrorists. I still wanna love it. Zionists are clown, man. Honestly, I think Americans who support Palestine should just leave, because their taxes literally go to Israel. Yeah, I think another thing they could do is just stop paying taxes, you know, which could cause like a civil war. I don't know. Anyway, let's continue.
kidnapping children. When has Israel actually gone in and done something of the scale of October the 7th?
There's literally endless examples.
Like, this guy is like so disingenuous and stupid. When does Israel have ever Operation Cast Lead, Operation Protective Edge? Like, look at all the operations that happen, and look at all the violation of international law. Like I just showed you on the other day, just search on Google Palestinians killed from January all the way to October 13. And you will see like nearly 300 innocent Palestinians were killed. Like how, like what justifies that? Also in 2015, there's an incident of a Palestinian boy who was burned alive. Let me see if I can find the story. Okay, I think it's this one. Let me see. Give me a moment. Oh, here we go. Found it. So it's the story of Muhammad. What's the kid's name? Israeli convicted of killing teen Muhammad Abu Qadir. Israeli court rejects insanity claim by defendant convicting him of murdering Palestinian Muhammad Abu Qadir in 2014. So an Israeli court has convicted 16-year-old. The court ruled on Tuesday of Ben David, 33, was insane, in control of his action. He was accomplished. He's an accomplice, by the way. He's not the only person. Kidnapped and murdered Abu Qadir on July 2, 2014. Ben David was initially convicted last November of murder, kidnapping for the purpose of murder, and assault, but the court postponed the conviction until a psychological evaluation of Ben David was conducted after he claimed insanity. Abu Qadir was walking into his home in Shifat neighborhood of East Jerusalem, where he was kidnapped and forced into a car and taken to a Jerusalem forest, where he was beaten and burned alive. Then there's another thing, which is known as the Wedding of Hate, in case you guys don't know. Basically, it's It's a wedding where they basically celebrated the death of an entire family. I think it happened in 2008, where a whole family was burned alive by Israeli settlers, right? So there's so many examples we can give. I mean, like Piers Morgan has to be either stupid or just completely disingenuous. Brother Sidney Football says Piers Morgan is the person who milked this genocide the most for views and stuff. It's clear that he's close-minded and is only after the views. Oh, sorry about that, guys. There is like a there's a technical difficulty. I lost the internet for a second. You're frozen. Yeah, I was. Basically, it was like a small glitch. Don't worry about it. It's fixed now, inshallah. Brother Zobas says, Salam, check out your Twitter. Why? What's happening on Twitter? Hold on, give me a second. Uh, what's happening on Twitter? Oh, okay. Oh, this is the video. Okay, that's interesting.
Hey, look, it's Piers Morgan.
Hold on. Okay, I think it's a video of.
If you've watched Piers Morgan on Palestine and Israel, you would have noticed that he has a sleazy way of covering this issue that seems to support the Zionist narrative. It all starts with one question.
Do you condemn what Hamas did that day? Would you condemn Hamas for what they did?
Do you condemn Hamas or the attack on October the 7th? Yes? Then Israel has the right to defend itself from the worst thing to ever happen in the last 20 years.
Is Israel not allowed to defend itself from the worst?
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is that why would you even ask that question? You know? I mean, like you're talking about an occupying country having the right to defend itself for what? To occupy more lands? Like, I mean, like, because the thing is that the phrasing of the question is completely ambiguous, you know? He's not asking, like, do you condemn the Hamas fighters that was responsible for violating some international laws, right? Do you condemn those particular Hamas fighters? Because Hamas as a whole organization, you could argue is probably not responsible for this because there are evidence that shows that Hamas tried to distinguish from civilians to militants because even their own propaganda videos show, like Israeli propaganda videos show that during October 7th, they clearly tried to make a distinctions. Oh, brother, MENJ is here, but I love hummus. Bro, stop it. Stop hummus. Stop the hummus onslaught. Okay, no hummus onslaught here. Anyway, by the way, Aki, if you want to join, please, I gave you the link. Feel free to join, inshallah. Yeah, brother MENJ is here. So, as I was saying, so yeah, so instead of saying that, like, do you like condemn some of the individuals in Hamas that have violated international law? That's not what it says. He says that, do you condemn like October 7 as a whole? Like, what does that even mean? So it's clearly a loaded question. Brother MENJ says, sorry Aki, I'm actually going to sleep right now. No worries, bro. I'm gonna be here slapping Piers Morgan. I had a long day. Yeah, sure, Aki, no worries. Anyway, let's check it out.
Terror attack we've seen since 9/11, massacring 1,500 innocent people,
It's not
including Holocaust survivors,
Piers.
kidnapping babies, decapitating
Piers.
people, cutting their limbs
Piers.
off, raping
Cutting
women.
the
What
limbs
about
off.
the IDF, bro? They kill lots of people too. Shut up, you anti-Semite.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF. Condemn the other one. Is it condemn what?
I believe.
Yeah, he
So clearly, Pierce will not apply the same standards to the IDF as he applies to Hamas, because the IDF is defending itself. The only moral
Yeah.
quandary Pierce has is how much is the IDF allowed to defend itself from the most.
Yeah, so basically what he actually means by defending itself is that it's basically that he wants Israel to continue to occupy, illegally occupy, and continue to commit genocide against the Palestinians. That's what he means by saying defending themselves. Fahad, ask Piers to get you on his show. I mean, I'm not really that popular. I don't think he will. And the thing is that this guy's so disingenuous. I don't think I would actually even want to talk to him. But let's see. If he ever reaches out, I might. Who knows? But anyway.
Most evil people in the world before it becomes too much.
It's a quandary for me morally, right?
Why is
It's
that a quandary, though?
I'll tell you why.
Thing to ever happen in the universe. Then to eradicate such evil, Israel, the good guy, has to use any force necessary. And in this
Yeah, this is very loaded. But anyway, inshallah, I'll react to this video or watch it later on. But let's now react to the Andrew Tate debate, inshallah.
Give me one.
In 2014, they were bombing.
No,
You know
no.
what, Piers? Let me tell you something.
I'm not talking about.
No,
I'm not
let me
talking about
answer.
what they would
No.
categorize as retaliation for rocket strikes, and there's an arguable point, as there is, for example.
No, when he says 2014, he's talking about the March of Return. There was no rocket there. What was he talking about? What was he talking about? Hold on, let me share the right of return march in Palestine. He's lying. Here we go. Let me share the screen. Oh, no. Here we go. Here we go. So this happened in 2018, 2019. Oh, this is not 2014. I think he mixed up the date. But anyway, the 2018 to 2019 Gaza border protest, also known as the Great March of Return, were a series of demonstrations held each Friday in Gaza Strip near Gaza-Israel border from 30 March 2018 until December. A total of 223 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces. The demonstrators demanded that the Palestinian refugees must be allowed to return lands they were displaced from, what is now Israel. They protested against Israel's land, air, and sea blockade, states recognition of Israel as a capital of Jerusalem. The first demonstration were organized by independent activists, but initially was soon endorsed by Hamas. So yeah, there was no there's no rocket firing here. So he's lying. He's just straight up lied. Hold on, this guy. You act like you don't support Palestine only because you're Muslim. What? You would support Israel if you weren't Muslim. No, I don't think so. I think if I was not a Muslim, I would still wouldn't support Israel. You know, I mean, there are plenty of non-Muslims that don't support Israel. They criticize Israel. So no. But anyway, let's continue, inshallah. Oh, he also said, Lyle Pickens, did Hass start this war? No, they didn't. Hass is retaliating for illegal occupation, blockade of food and water. Also, they have killed 300 innocent civilians long before October 7. So no. Anyway, let's continue.
I'm vehemently against the expansion of the settlements on the West Bank. I think there are legitimate questions about the proportionality of Israel's response here.
Yeah,
but in terms,
It's interesting that he says that he's against settlement in the West Bank, which I guess is a good thing. But another problem here is that how can he say that I'm against settlement in the West Bank and then say that, but I'm fine when, when these people bomb refugees and in a way where they have no way of getting out of that. Like they literally have no safe place to go. Like the people that are being bombed right now, they have no safe place to go. So which is worse? Like building, I mean, both are bad. Don't get me wrong, but like which is worse? Like building and harassing native people in their own land, or like killing native people in their land? Clearly, killing them is worse. Obviously, that's wrong as well. Israeli settlement like is a clear violation of international law, but they're both wrong. And if anything, the current genocide and the bombings that are happening are way worse. So clearly, I think he's just like putting points for the sake of it. It doesn't matter what you're raising, you just him to support Palestine. Yeah, exactly. I think we do have Islamic reasons to support Palestine and Palestinian brothers and sisters because they're being attacked right now. So, parking. When did Israel invade Gaza and do what Hamas did? Like, read all the reports. Like, you don't have to like they're constantly killing people of Gaza. Like, they're constantly shooting like Palestinians. What are you talking about? But the Hamas is not just like leader in like Gaza. They have authority in West Bank as well because they are elected. Right. For example, let me show an example of this. Here we go. There's a report by Ecologist that says Gaza, Israel bombs water and sewage systems. So here this guy says, oh, Israel never attacked Gaza unprovoked. Here we go. Israel's armed forces have destroyed vital water and sewage infrastructure in their bombing campaign of the besieged territory, writes Mohammed Omar. This constitutes a severe breach of 1977 protocol and Geneva Conventions. So yeah, they're constantly bombing them, displacing them. So yeah. Also, like they're constantly like attacking Palestinians, especially in the West Bank. Like I already did a video on this, so if you want to see it, you can check it out. Check out my previous video or previous two videos where I showed examples of them shooting kids in Palestinian kids in West Bank. They killed like 30 kids and nearly 300 innocent civilians. And this is before October 7th. So just because they didn't do it in Gaza doesn't mean that this is like they cannot retaliate, because Hamas is in charge of both Gaza and West Bank, technically. But regardless.
But in terms of what Hamas perpetrated on October the 7th, there is no instance of Israel doing that to the people of Gaza.
No instance? Sure, man. Like blocking water, food is not like an instance of them attacking Gaza.
Accept that. If you don't accept that, you're either deluded or you're deliberately not wanting to say the obvious, which is that was an act of terrorism, because you're concerned about upsetting people in Palestine. Is that
By the way, blocking water and food is also war crime. Just saying.
Okay.
Let me go back to my first point when I said you're peddling asininities. The reason I said that is because to look at a situation, no matter how heinous, and to ignore all of the context and pretend that you do not...
Oh, by the way, the 2014 March is an attack. Like, what are you talking about? March of Return, they killed nearly 300 people. So what? Like, they were like shooting like Hamas? No, they're not. They're shooting civilians. Like, educate yourself, man.
Understand why said situation happened.
And also, that happened inside Gaza. That happened in Gaza. The March of Return that happened in 2018, they shot at protesters, like innocent protesters, inside their borders. So they did exactly what Hamas did. So do you like condemn them? No, you support them still.
Nothing justifies terrorism on that scale. Nothing.
Is asinine.
No, it's not.
It's not about justification.
Let me tell you why.
It's not about justification. It's about understanding the realities of the world.
Let me tell you the reality of the world. Hamas came to power in 2005. Hamas's initial founding charter made it clear that they are for the eradication of Israel. And on October the 7th,
Also, nothing justifies it. Like, what are you talking about? So, like, it's either that you don't know that how illegal occupation works, or you're just stupid. It has to be the case that you're stupid, because let me show, like, they have the legal right to retaliate. Let me share the. Let me see if I can find it. I have it bookmarked. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I shared it before, but under like UN, any occupied people that is being occupied has the right to fight back. They have the right to bear arms. So yes, they have the right to fight back. Oh, guys, I think I'm getting raided by the IDF again. IDF troll army.
if they prove what that means, is they will kill every Jew they can get their hands on. They are an existential threat to people
They never said that, but okay.
in Israel and to Jewish people. And that is, I'm afraid, the purest personification of the terror.
Like there is no example of like Hamas saying that they want to kill all Jewish people all over the world. When they're referring to Jews, they're referring to the occupying forces. And as I already showed, I can show it here. Hamas in their charter, in 2017 charter, they clearly say that they have nothing against Jewish people. Here we go. This is 2017, the document in full. Hamas explains general principles and objective in 42 document. There you go. Hamas affirms that its conflict is with the Zionist project, not with the Jews because of their religion. Like, I don't know how much more clear it can get than this. So yeah, that's a lie. Also, like that, the fact that they did not kill the hostages itself is evidence enough that they are not against all the Jewish people. They're just against their occupiers.
I also think by doing what they did, as they have done since 2005, they weren't representing innocent Palestinian people in Gaza.
Who are suffering now.
They knew, yes, but Hamas knew when they did what they did that Israel would respond the way they did and that thousands of innocent Palestinians would get killed. They knew that, and they still.
So this is another argument that this kind of like Zionist stooges will make. Is blue smiling. Anyway, so this is another point that a lot of these Zionists will make, which is that, oh, you know, Hamas knew that they would retaliate, you know. They knew, but they still did it. Clearly, they don't care about their own people. I mean, Israel also knew that, you know, Hamas could very well retaliate when they killed nearly 300 people, when they shot people, when they stormed into Al-Aqsa, you know, and beat up the people who were saying the prayer in peace. In the let me pull up the news article. Maybe that will give some clarification. Here, this happened in September. Share the screen. Yeah, there we go. Israeli forces attack Palestinians worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is very famous, especially within the Muslim circles. Dozens of Israeli settlers storm Al-Aqsa on the last day of Rosh Hashanah under the protection of occupation forces. The latter assaulted Palestinian worshippers. Like, what did you think was going to happen when you do that? Like, it's a genuine question. So when Israel clearly violates and provokes Hamas, they don't see it. But like when Hamas like retaliates, all of a sudden they're terrorists. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could still argue that what Hamas did is too extreme, and they definitely should not kill civilians. And that is a statement that I would agree with, right? Because that's wrong in both Islamic law and international law. But what you cannot argue is that Hamas is somehow you know, uh, this kind of anti-Semites that want to kill all Jewish people. That's false. That's just a lie.
Still did it. So my question.
So let me add these two things actually. Hold on, give me a moment. Window. There we go. So this is another point that they will try to argue back with. Is Hamas a terrorist that hate all Jews? Number one would be that so the number one would be that no, they say that they show no intention of doing that. They show no intention of such things. Now, of course, you could still argue they might have some elements of anti-Semitism, but I don't think you can argue that somehow they want to, you said hate, I mean kill. Hate and kill. Okay, so basically they would pose questions like, is Hamas a terrorist organization, and that they that hate and want to yeah, is Hamas a terrorist? Is Hamas terrorists? Are Hamas terrorists? Hamas terrorists, and do they want to? Hate and want to kill all Jews. Yeah. So yeah, the first point would be that no, as far as their own charter, the 2017 updated charter shows that no, they have no intention of such things. Number two would be they tried to distinguish between civilians and this is true. I mean, like, you don't even have to go anywhere. Like, you can see Israeli propaganda videos where they put out supposed October 7 in October 7 where they clearly distinguish between armed people or members of IDF versus normal civilians, where they ask someone holding him at gunpoint that or when someone tried to kill a civilian, they say that or save your bullet for the fighters. That's what they said. Also, there are videos which shows that they walked inside a house and they said that we're Muslim, we're not here to kill everyone. Now, of course, that doesn't mean they didn't violate this rule. They clearly did, and they were not successful because civilians did die. So people who were involved in killing civilians, they should be tried, and there's no arguing with that, both under Islamic law and under international law. But it doesn't justify labeling Hamas as a whole as terrorist organization because this is their territory. You could say that about things they did before, because clearly there has been attacks against civilians before, but after the elections, I don't think, and they got control of like Gaza, I don't think you could make such an argument. So anyway, so So yeah, first they showed no intention of this, and they tried to distinguish between civilians and IDF. They did not kill all the hostages. That's another thing. All the hostages, and let some of them go and go to health reasons. Now, you could still argue that they're doing this for propaganda, and that could be true. Again, I don't know their heart. But the thing is that, but what you cannot argue is that clearly they don't want to kill innocent Jewish people. They want to negotiate. So they're doing this as an attempt to negotiate. As violent and horrible as you may think it is unfair to say that they are just, this T word. Where if you compare this with what IDF and like Israelis are doing, it's completely uncomparable. Clearly, they've killed more people, and they have no intention, it seems like, to minimize civilian casualties. In a situation where they have nowhere to go, they're blocking water, food, and medicine. They've killed way more people, and in a situation where they have nowhere to go. So clearly, this is actions of genocide, and they showed intention of genocide. So if you look at everything in context, clearly the Israelis are the bad guys here. Now, you could still argue that Hamas is not necessarily the good guys and they're not perfect. They definitely committed some crimes. But Hamas is still the lesser evil. Like, they're still better than the Israeli side. But regardless. So yeah, this is the point I think we should point out. But regardless, let's go back to Andrew Tate and the debate.
question for you is, why can't you, which is my position on this, is very straightforward. What Hamas did was an act of terror, an absolutely despicable act of terror, and should be called exactly what it is. And they are now demonstrably a...
Yeah, this is so annoying. He keeps repeating the same point. October 7, October 7, October 7, October 7. October 7. Whoa. Like, shut up.
terrorist group. That is why they were rightly prescribed that by the UK and America and other countries. And to try and pretend they're not makes you sound like Jeremy Corbyn. I can't think of a worse.
Oh no, don't want to sound like Jeremy Corbyn. Like, so
insult to throw at you, right? So,
I don't think me and Corbyn agree on
but I
that.
also think there are legitimate questions to come about the way Israel's responded. We can come to that. But I just want to ask you one more time. Is what Hamas did on October the 7th an act of terrorism?
I think, Piers, it is peddling asininities for you to pretend that enslaving
You sound like
people...
Jeremy Corbyn.
No, let me answer the question.
15 times he refused to answer the
Let me
question.
answer the question.
You're now
I'm not
about,
refusing.
you're now
If you
about 3 or
look-
4.
if you look-
Are they a terror group or not?
They're one team's freedom fighter, and they're deemed a terrorist
What do you
group.
think?
I think that if you lock people in open airports and steal their land, they're going to retaliate.
So they're not a terror group.
I think they're going to retaliate.
They're not a terror group.
One team's terrorist is a
Okay, we're now up to
military
about 8. Are they a terror group?
And also, another thing I want to make clear to you.
Only Jeremy Corbyn has done this.
Then what?
Refuse to answer the question.
I think that what they are doing is seemingly deemed an act of terror by the people that the terror...
Don't use Weasley words.
They're not Weaslly. Of course, the Israelis think they're a terror group, and of course, the Palestinians are freedom fighters.
Most of
Assuming they're asking questions.
the civilized world thinks they're a terror group committed an act of terrorism. It's not difficult. What they did was an act of
And I
terrorism.
think that if Israel continues to
I'm
conduct acts of
going
terrorism
to
on the Palestinian people, they're going to do nothing
I'm
but
going to come.
strengthen the reaction.
That's a different conversation I'm about to have with you about Israel's response. Before I get there, one more time. Is Hamas a terror group who committed an act of terrorism?
I think that when you lock people in open airports, you're going to...
So again, remember guys, what he's doing. He's committing the fallacy known as history generalization, which is, again, I showed before, but I can show it here again, is this one. Yeah. So basically, history generalization is when you generalize a whole group based on the actions of few individuals. You cannot do that because it doesn't logically follow. Because if that's the case, that Hamas in its entirety is a terrorist organization simply because some members have violated international law and attacked civilians, then based on the same logic, you have to say all countries, including America, France, the whole of NATO, Russia, China, they all are terrorists because they have also committed acts of atrocities against civilians. Look at what's happened with the Uyghurs. Look at what happened with the what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in Afghanistan, Iraq. They all kill civilians. So why is this an exception when it comes to Hamas? Right? And it's a very valid argument to make, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to generalize Hamas and trying to show as like Hamas is this ISIS Nazi-like entity. When in reality, that's not just not true. You know, Hamas is a resistance group that have committed war crimes. No one's arguing that. Some of members of Hamas have committed war crimes, but this doesn't mean Hamas as an entire organization is a terrorist group. If that's the case, then America is a terrorist group. The entire American army is a terrorist group. The entire IDF is a terrorist group. The entire Chinese army is a terrorist group. All armies are terrorist group because most armies have conducted war crimes or like attacked civilians or killed civilians. So it's a stupid point.
Okay, you're not going to
Retaliation. No, because I have to. There's people who are firstly.
You don't mind me saying, I think it's spineless.
Sure.
I do.
That's fine.
You sound like Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, that is.
Did you see my interview with him?
No.
No, it's not spineless. He's just not. He refuses to answer a loaded question. By the brother Reza Piers, he says, "Assalamu alaikum, bro. Just joined here. Alhamdulillah. Welcome, Islam. Thanks for joining. Just reacting to the debate between Piers Morgan and Andrew Tate."
No. Right. 15 times last week, I asked him the same question. 15 times he prevaricated and wouldn't answer. Eventually, when someone does that enough times, you know what they really think.
Okay.
You don't think they're a terror
Well,
group.
let me answer.
You don't think they're a terror group.
No, what I think is this: on certain.
I'm really curious what you think an act of terror is if it's not massacring 1,500 innocent people.
It's not.
Like he already said, like if he like, the thing is that even if he does believe that they're not a terror group, he is allowed to that opinion. Like just because like the UK government thinks that like a particular group is terror group doesn't make them so. Like Nelson Mandela was considered a terror group, a terrorist in the past. Later on, he was not. I mean, Yasser Arafat was considered terrorist. Later on, he was not. So like, who defines what? Like here, why is it that a minority of countries gets to decide who is terrorist and who is not? Especially Western white countries, where if you look at other countries, like most of the countries that don't believe that Hamas is a terrorist group, like what about their definition, right? Again, like it depends. Like even if you think like, and this is where the question comes in, like who defines what a terrorist is? Clearly, according to Piers, only America and their allies can decide who the terrorist is. If Andrew Tate said that he's not a terrorist, then he's wrong because America said so, or like the UK said so.
No,
Including Holocaust survivors,
Here.
kidnapping babies,
Here.
decapitating
Here.
people, cutting their
Oh my
nipples,
God.
raping women.
Yeah, talking about missing limbs. We're talking about that.
We are. But when we get there, it'll be in the
That's the thing. Like he keeps bringing up like the supposed atrocities, you know, and completely ignoring what happened. Like they killed 15,000 people, man. 15,000 people, nearly 5,000 children. They blew them up in pieces. Like which part of that is like not gruesome? He keeps bringing up this kind of like made up gruesome things like 40 babies and all this, which by the way there's no evidence of, and then like completely ignoring all the atrocities that Israel has done. This guy's so deceitful, man.
context of you not admitting that was an act of
Well, let
terror.
me answer the question for the final time. I am a realist. And as a realist, sometimes you don't come to the conclusion of labeling good guys and bad guys. The world is not black and white.
Oh, Hamas are bad guys.
No, the world is not black and white. The world is actually very gray. Anybody who sits and thinks there's
Nothing
clearly a
gray
good
about
guy,
what- there's nothing
clearly
gray
a good
about
guy
Hamas.
and clearly a bad guy does not understand how the world works. And as a realist, what you do is
Brother Reza, he says, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Reza Prasetio says, bro, Muhammad Hijab states the definition of terrorist by international law, and Israel completely fits that description. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, like, if you're saying going by simply by that definition, right? If simply killing civilians makes a whole group a terrorist group, then clearly America is a terrorist. Clearly, the NATO is a terrorist. The European countries are terrorists. France is a terrorist country. So then everyone is a terrorist, right? So that's just not how it works, right? So if this was the case, then Israel would be the first country to be outlawed, right? Or of course, they would never do that.
you look at scenarios and you understand why they happen, how unfortunate they are, how unfortunate the loss of human life is, how civilians die on both sides, how innocents are dying in a chess game played by the elites on both sides. Both sides, you have innocent people who didn't even vote for the person making the decisions, who are ensuring their death, signing their death warrants. It's unfortunate on both sides. But listen, sir, you would not advocate Russia doing any of the things to Ukraine that Israel is doing to Palestine. You would not say
Russia has been doing
Good point. Exactly. Like he would never condemn, Ukraine. Hold on. Oh, shit. Yeah. So he would never condemn. Like when it comes to Israel, right? They'll never blame Israel for any kind of war crimes. But when it comes to Russia, all of a sudden they're all against Putin. Right? He's this worst person ever. However, when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu and his cronies, all of a sudden they're just defending themselves. The clear double standard is just absolutely hilarious, and it's a very good point that he made here. And also, I'm not even adding the added context of like them being completely genocidal and clearly showing racial hatred towards Palestinians as people. I mean, they have said things like Palestinians are animals and this kind of disgusting things. obviously Russians have never done that. Russians have never said like Ukrainians are like animals or whatever. So why is it that they blame Russia but they don't blame Israel? They're laughable.
Exactly that.
Russia has
Ukraine.
not done a fraction
Russia
of this
illegally,
Ukraine
Russia,
that Israel has done to
Russia,
Palestine.
Russia illegally invaded a sovereign democratic country and has committed a barbaric rampage.
And so Palestine is not a sovereign country. Look at the racism. So when Russia blames it, like when Russia invades Ukraine, that's a sovereign democratic country because they're white guys. They're white. That's the thing. If you're white, then you're a democratic society. But if you're not white, you're not allowed to be a democratic. Yeah, so if you're brown and if you get invaded, then that's justified. That's a self-defense. But if you're not, if you're not, sorry, if you're brown and you get invaded, in that case, it's justified because it's self-defense. But if you're white and you get invaded, then that's wrong because you're not supposed to, conquer white people. Like that's how it sounds like. So dumb. Yeah, I mean, like he clearly like destroyed him here.
Page, trying to seize as much of Ukraine as it can, bombing maternity hospitals,
Let me ask you
killing
a
innocent women and
question.
children. Like, don't even try and have some kind of
No, this is genuine
equivocation of
question.
this.
Oh, no, a Hamas
They
rocket.
also bombed hospitals. Like, what is talking about? Exactly. Yeah.
Tiny Hamas rocket that can make a pothole in the road, and then they get hit back with cruise missiles. Let me ask you a question. Ukraine sent a drone and hit the Kremlin. A drone attack, it did nothing, it damaged some shingles. If Russia decided to then respond with a missile attack on a hospital and annihilate 800 people, do you think that would be allowed?
Exactly what happened.
Would you advocate for that? Would you support that?
Have you seen the
reaction?
state of Mariupol, which they leveled to the ground?
The Ukrainians did level it,
Russia,
correct.
no, Russians,
2014.
the Russians leveled Mariupol.
And my question to you is, would you advocate those reactions? Let me ask you another question. Let me ask you a question. I want to understand your point.
It's actually
Yeah, he doesn't answer the question. Did you guys notice that? Tyler Wright. Oh my God, another idea of troll. What does it say? You Muslims have 65 countries, but except Jew having just one. Just get over it. We hate Israel because of we have 65 countries, guys. So we're not allowed to criticize Israel. We have 65 countries. Brother Reza, you have 65 countries. That's what he says. That's why you can criticize Israel. Sure. We have 65 countries. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, even if we have 100 countries, that doesn't justify what Israel is doing. Still war crime. What is this? Why don't you care about atrocities committed in Syria? Now, what is the whataboutism, man? It doesn't matter. Like, is Israel committing war crime or not? They are.
nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but you try to understand mine. I just want to understand your point of view. If I believe, or Israel believe, that one of the people in your house is a terrorist and decided to destroy your entire house and kill your entire family, would you sit and say, well, maybe there was...
Stop being anti-Semitic. No one's being anti-Semitic, man. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. Learn the definition.
a terrorist inside? I accept that. Or would you be enraged? Genuine question.
I don't think you can take an individual person's response.
Well, it's a bunch of individual people in
As-
Gaza.
yeah,
They're
sure.
people, individuals with
Right,
thoughts and
let's
dreams and aspirations
Oh,
that are being annihilated.
this is
15
another
years
thing.
And decided to destroy your entire house and kill your entire family. Would you sit and say,
hold on,
well,
hold on.
maybe there was a terrorist inside? My question to you is, would you advocate those reactions? Let me ask you another question. This is a genuine question. Let me ask you a question. I want to understand your point.
It's actually nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but you try to understand mine. I just want to understand your point of view. If I believe, or Israel believe, that one of the people in your house was a terrorist and decided to destroy your entire house and kill your entire family, would you sit and say, well, maybe there was a terrorist inside? I accept that. Or would you be enraged? Genuine question.
I don't think you can take an individual person's response.
You see, look at this clown. And by the way, Brother Muhammad Hijab also asked him this exact same question, and he refuses to answer. Brother Reza Pavi says, if you love Israel so much, let them go to your country. Let Palestinian people alone. In Palestine, there are no women's rights, LGBT rights. That's a good thing, actually. LGBT rights. What LGBT rights? Anyway, the only democracy that doesn't allow Palestinians to even buy land. Right, democracy. But anyway, so as I was saying, so this is actually a very good point that you guys have to keep in mind, which is that when you use this same logic and apply it in their own countries, you realize a lot of these Western countries that commits atrocities in Middle Eastern countries, they'll never apply the same logic in their own countries. Like, for example, they will bomb in some place in Pakistan or like Libya or whatever, right? Or Iraq and Syria, just to get a number of like supposed militants there, right? So you have like 100 people and you have like one militant in that area and they'll bomb the whole area. But if the same situation were to happen in their own countries, let's say, I don't know, the Empire State Building is taken over by terrorists, and you have like 1,000 civilians, and you have like 25 terrorists or whatever. Like in that situation, will they ever bomb the entire neighborhood along with the Empire State Building? No, they'll never do that. This completely exposes this racism, and it completely exposes their agenda. So basically, when it comes to other countries, especially Middle East, they hate Arabs so much, and they have dehumanized Arabs so much that when it comes to killing them, you know, they will they have no issues with it. But when it comes to killing their own people, they will take issues with it. Because if a bank was robbed by like an armed robber, they'll never bomb the bank. But if a bank were robbed or taken over by terrorists in like Middle East, somewhere in Middle East or somewhere in Afghanistan or someone in Palestine, then they'll bomb the whole neighborhood, including the bank, killing everyone. This again exposes uh, you know, their racism. And this is actually another point I want to add here. Give me a second. As I was showing, uh, here we go. Uh, this is another example of their committing genocide, which is that they will likely not respond to uh, terrorism in their own country in such a way. Such a way. And again, this is important to highlight because this exposes the fact that they are committing genocide. Because if they really wanted to get the terrorists, they would have sent ground troops inside the tunnels. But that's not what they're doing. And they're doing something that they will never do in their own borders, is that killing everyone on sight, like leveling entire neighborhoods. Like no one does this. Like imagine this, right? Imagine you're walking in the street and there's a whole mob of people, and one of them is a terrorist. Will you then like bomb the whole entire neighborhood just to get that one terrorist? No, of course not. So this again shows that they're trying to commit genocide. I mean, like, but anyway, let's continue. Okay, this guy's getting annoying. Tyler Wright, I think he's like a Zionist troll. I'm gonna ban him. This guy, okay. So yeah, by the way, guys, oftentimes you will get this IDF trolls, and these are paid bots, IDF bots, Zionist bots, that just comes here and like spams the chat. So I'm just gonna get rid of them. I mean, I already answered some of his question. He keeps like spamming the comment. Brother. Palestine was never a sovereign state. This is a fact for you. First Prime Minister of Israel holds a Palestine passport. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I banned the guy, like this Tyler Wright or whatever. I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back because what they do is that they make new IDs. They keep spamming the comments. This is a tactic. These are like IDF trolls that are paid, like they're like cyber security or whatever.
Individuals with thoughts and dreams and ask for violating 15-year-old.
Brother says, "Lol, I'm just having fun here and there," and you're banning him is so sad. Like, let's hope. Yeah, I mean, like, because he's gonna keep coming back with like more kind of like his buddies, and then they're gonna continuously spam the chat. Because it's really annoying and distracting. I mean, if they ask like some questions and that we can answer some of it, but like continually just like annoying, continuously spam the comments.
Let's come to
There are individual people. They're not cattle.
Let's come to that.
People.
Right, so were the people in Israel.
And that's why it's so heinous. Which is my exact point.
But not heinous enough to reach your bar of terrorism.
It's not it's understanding why things happen.
By not saying it, you made your position clear. Just as Jeremy Corbyn did. And to pretend you're any different is ridiculous.
By the way, did you notice he constantly wants him to answer his question? Or do you think they're terrorists? Do you think you're a terrorist? But he doesn't answer any of his question. He asked him like, would you be acceptable if this happened in your own house where you have one criminal, your whole family is in there, and they bomb your house? He doesn't answer the question. He doesn't answer the question about like what happened before this October 7th, right? He doesn't answer any of this question, and yet they expect him to like answer all his questions. This guy's so disingenuous. Aryan Mehta. Yeah, bro, I'm back. Still streaming? Yeah, I'm still streaming, inshallah.
Let's move on to Israel's response, because there are legitimate questions about this. Hamas embeds itself, 35, 40,000 terrorists, in my estimation, you can call them whatever you like. And they're embedded amongst the civilian population.
Palestine, alhamdulillah.
They
Free
know from
Palestine.
intelligence over the last 20 years, which you won't believe because the Matrix has made it all up. We know from intelligence that historically Hamas likes to embed itself, particularly around things like schools.
Brother Odi Tabak fan says Piers Morgan is clown. Yeah, he is. He's not in a clown. He also in the past used to support Palestine. So clearly his allegiances is a bit shady. He's probably doing this, and I don't know the man's heart. He's probably doing this because he's getting paid. He doesn't a piece of his boss. This guy's a clear clown.
Because that makes it more difficult if the Israelis attack. Yeah. Now, Israel has killed nearly 12,000 people in its response, right? There are many people around the world.
It's 50,000 now, by the way. The numbers have updated.
A ceasefire. You think that is a ridiculously disproportionate genocide. So what happened? Well, it was genocide. They want to kill everyone in Palestine. They don't.
They just want to drive them all out.
Whereas Hamas do want to kill everyone. That is
That's a lie. That's a lie. Genocide doesn't mean that you have to kill everyone in a particular area. What genocide means is that you have the intention to kill as many as possible until they no longer stay in your land. And if they refuse to leave, then you kill all of them. Basically, that's what a genocide is. And Israel is doing just that. Because they know full well that the people in Gaza have nowhere to go. And still, they are blocking their water and food and medicine, which means that they have no, and they know for a full well that people will not survive without these things. They are bombing people. They're telling people to go to the north, go to the south, and then bombing people in the south, which again shows they clearly just want to kill Palestinian Arabs as much as possible. They know full well that people in Gaza cannot go anywhere, which again shows genocidal intent, because if you know that a particular group of people have nowhere to go and you still kill them indiscriminately, you are trying to kill as many people as possible. So clear, this is genocide. Like, what are you talking about? What a lunatic. Anyways, the brother says, well, to be honest, 7 October incident were admitted as inside jobs, so Piers shouldn't having these arguments anymore to force people condemning hummus. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it could be, it's possible, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, it's also possible that maybe people inside Israeli government doesn't want Netanyahu around, and they're trying to perhaps get rid of Netanyahu, and maybe they're trying to use Hamas as an excuse. It's possible, it could happen, but I don't know. Brother Odida fan says, who do you support in the West Bank Premier League? West Bank Premier League? I'm not sure what you mean. Like football? I'm not really familiar with Palestinian football. If I'm being honest, a club football anyway.
That's actually what genocide is. You know what's actually interesting? Because you've spoken about this subject with people more who actually understand the conflict better than I do. Mohammed Jawad understands it better. Loki understands it better. I'm talking from a very general humanistic perspective because I don't understand the absolute intricacies like they
do. You know what genocide means?
Of course I do.
Right. Genocide means you want to eradicate an entire people based on race or ethnicity. Israel clearly doesn't want to do.
Yes, Israel does want to kill all of them. They have literally said it. They literally said it. Like for example, let me show the video of let me I'm trying to find the video. Hold on, give me a second. Sorry. Anyway, let me share the screen. Hold on. Oh. Here we go. Okay, let's see this video and see if they're trying to commit genocide or not.
You must remember what Amalek has.
But this is the guy himself, Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's see what he says.
Done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember and we are fighting our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel.
So yeah, this is clear genocidal intent. They're referring to, in case you guys don't know, Amalek. Amalek was a group of people that the Jews fought against in the Bible, and they committed genocide against them. They massacred them completely, obliterating their women, children, and everyone. So since they're comparing Palestinians or people in Gaza with Amalek, means they want to kill, do what Jews in the past in the Bible have done to people of Gaza. Okay, that's the only like explanation you can get from this. Now, of course, there are also other incidents of them saying other nonsense, like also they say that they're not interested in ceasefire at all, which again shows that this is clearly, and they know full well that people in Gaza have nowhere to go. So let me share another brother. By the way, references. Which Palestinian city in the West Bank do you love most? I'll tell you which team represents that city. To be honest, I'm not familiar with cities in Palestine. My knowledge in regards to the geography of the area is very low. But I do support my Palestinian brothers and sisters. Inshallah, maybe one day I'll visit it. And yeah, by the way, let me know which city is the most beautiful in Palestine. Maybe inshallah in the future I'll visit it. I live in Bangladesh, so I don't really know much about Palestine, to be honest. But I'd love to visit there, inshallah, someday. Once this kind of like this war is over. So let's take a look at this clip. This is another interesting one.
Than Israelis. It's the Palestinians who need better security, if anything, isn't it?
כל מי שירצה לפגוע בי, אני אפגע בו בחזרה. ומבחינתי, המושג מידתיות חייב להפסיק להתקיים.
You see what he's saying? This Zionist, I don't know, what is he? Israeli politicians. By the way, these are people that are in power. Just to get some idea about how crazy this is. He's saying this idea of proportionality must cease to exist. What does that mean? It means that they don't care about how many Palestinians they kill, which means they don't care about Hamas. They're not targeting for Hamas. They're trying to kill as many Palestinian civilians as possible. That's why they're saying we don't care about proportionality. They don't care about proportions. They just want to kill as many Palestinians as possible, which is genocide. They're literally saying it.
אז אני אגיד לך משהו שמאוד לא נעים לומר אותו. אם זאת אמא ישראלית אחת בוכה, או 1,000 אמהות פלסטיניות בוכות, אז ש1,000 אמהות פלסטיניות יבכו.
Then 1,000 Palestinian mothers will cry. That's what they want. They want to kill as many Palestinians as possible until there's no Palestinian left. Or until either Palestinians have left the city, which is ethnic cleansing, which is also war crime, or if they refuse to leave, they're going to kill all of them. So these are freaks. These are not normal people. Genocidal freaks. That's what they are. Anyway, let's continue.
Do that to the Palestinian people. If he did, he wouldn't tell a million of them, as it turned out.
And here, this guy, this clown, is saying that, oh, they don't have genocidal intent. Like, shut the hell up, man.
Now, there are arguments about whether
So attack them as they move.
Well, some people got hit as they moved.
Yeah, exactly. They're attacking them as they move. Like, they're telling them to go to the south, and they're bombing the south. Clearly, they want to kill as many Palestinian Arabs as possible. So, like,
People got hit.
You know what?
You know what?
anyone who denies it is clearly being disingenuous.
You know what, Andrew?
Wait till it's your son's
You know
time.
what?
Wait till it's your
I
son.
agree. And you know what, Andrew? War is horrific. It's horrific. The question is it a just war for Israel to go after Hamas? And if it is, and you believe as I do, Hamas has to be got rid of.
No, it's not a just war to go after Hamas. If they wanted to go after Hamas, they would be in the tunnels fighting Hamas. That's not what they're doing. They're killing as many Palestinians as possible because they hate Arabs. They have to drive them out. And how do you know this? Because, again, let me share this. Share this thing. Here we go. How do you know this? Because they have shown genocidal intent. They don't allow Palestinians to come into their borders. They show genocidal intent. As I showed you guys, they are racist. They kill more civilians than militants. They took no action to minimize civilian casualties. People in Gaza have nowhere to go, and they still kill them. Regardless. Which can only lead to genocide. So yeah, the people in Gaza have nowhere to go, and they still kill them regardless, which can only lead to genocide. They're blocking water, food, and medicine, which can also lead to genocide. They're bombing places that are supposed to be safe, thus contradicting themselves. Again, this can only lead to genocide. They will also likely not respond to terrorism in their own country in such a way, meaning they will never do what they're doing to Gaza in their own borders, which shows that they hate Arabs and they want to kill all Arabs, or as many as possible. So, yeah, it's nonsense when they say it's a just war. It's not. Brother Reza says, no, it's not a just war. Yeah, exactly.
How do you do that? If you don't do it the way Israel is doing it, how do you get rid of that terror group? Now, you won't agree.
Yeah, you know what you don't do? You don't go march inside the most densely popular. I'll give you guys an example. In Bangladesh, in the early 2000s, we had an extremism problem, right? Now, the current ruling government was bombed in a very popular area. I think it is known as the I don't know, what was it? 2000. It happened in 2004 or something like that. There was an extremist terrorist bombing, right? And sorry, and a lot of people died from those bombings. It was basically known as the grenade attack. It's a very famous incident in Bangladesh. So this whole extremist group, a terrorist group, they wanted to take over all of Bangladesh, right? You know what the Bangladesh government did not do? And please keep in mind, Bangladesh government is basically a developing country. We're not all that secure in any way, shape, or form. What Bangladesh government didn't do is they didn't start randomly bombing and leveling entire neighborhoods. What they did is they gathered a bunch of police and they alerted the military and they went after the terrorists by finding them and going to their houses and arresting them or killing them, right? Now, they violated a lot of international law and they also killed a lot of opposition parties because of corruption, obviously. But still, again, Bangladesh is no ideal country in terms of how to handle terrorism or anything like that, because right now we're under dictatorship. But regardless, still the fact that Bangladesh, a kind of developing country, if we can handle this terrorist without killing thousands and thousands of innocent people, you're telling me the most advanced military in the Middle East, right, with millions and millions of dollars, they cannot do this? They cannot conduct warfare and arrest a bunch of terrorists with I don't know, like pipe guns? This is this clearly they're not trying to arrest Hamas. They're just bombing people because they can. They don't care about Hamas. If they wanted to Hamas, then they would have gone inside the tunnel. They would have brought, bomb disposal unit and get rid of the bombs there, and then they would attack Hamas. They're not doing that because they're not interested in that. They want to level entirety of Gaza, kill as many Palestinians as possible until they leave. That's their intention, right? Because the thing is that you don't level entire neighborhoods if you're trying to find one person. You use intel. You go inside, you do police work, bomb and commit genocide. You're right. Yeah, exactly.
with anything they're doing because you can't even categorize them as a terror group.
No, the reason I don't agree with him is because I'm a human. Please let me answer this without being interrupted. You didn't answer my earlier question for a reason because you knew that you couldn't answer without proving my point. The question about the fact that they decided to cruise missile your house because they thought somebody decided to terrorist, you would not accept the loss of your family that you would raised. You would not accept that. Okay, absolutely. So let me answer this as a professional. What's funny is I'm a humanist. Like I said,
Professional what, by the way?
I'm the professional.
Yeah, this is the first time he answered the question. But even then, like, he doesn't see that this actually contradicts his previous position. He just said that it's okay what Israel is doing, and yet he says that he in his own house it's not okay. Like, it's a clear contradiction. He doesn't realize that brother Andrew Tate actually completely destroyed him here. He showed the complete contradiction here.
Answer.
What are you thinking?
I'm talking about this from a humanistic perspective, right? And like I said, you talk to people more knowledgeable than me on the details of the subject. Right. Listen to me very carefully. I thought we lived in a democratic society. You just said 35,000 mass terrorists. This is the thing that's supposed to say. This is what genuinely upsets me. Israeli intelligence will say a guy's a mass terrorist. Has that guy gone to a court of law? Has it been a democratic process? Has he been proven to be a terrorist? No. They've just decided from their intelligence that couldn't see an invasion coming from hundreds of miles away. So this intelligence is actually it's not great. No. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, if they're like so alert and like they're so smart, their intelligence is like some of the best in the world, how is it possible that they didn't see this attack coming? Raises question, doesn't it? And then all of a sudden they know exactly where Hamas is, like where the tunnels is, and where all the calendars that says that, you know, the names of the Hamas hummus terrorists, right? Like, clearly this is just a stew. This is basically like there's a term for this. It's a what do you call it? I think it's known as I can't remember. But anyway, so that basically they're just ad hoc. So basically, they're trying to use ad hoc justification because they're just trying to move the blame away from them. But clearly, they're trying to commit genocide. That's what it is.
they decided this person might be in intelligence without court case, without any kind of democratic process, and because of that, they've decided to annihilate civilians along with him, and it's all just collateral damage, and nobody should care. That is not a humanistic perspective. That is disgusting, and any person in the West who is advocating for that is a hypocrite. Because it was turned on them. If the American government said, we think the person in your shopping mall, one of the people you were shopping alongside in the mall, might have committed a crime, we didn't take him to court, we think they might have, so we killed your whole family, get over it.
So the last time,
he's a clown and a hypocrite.
So the last time,
what do you?
Yeah, exactly. And again, like, they can respond to this argument, and this is a point that Mohammad Hijab brought to him. He brought to him, and other pro-Palestine activists have also brought to him. But like, he can't either. He either doesn't answer the question, or when he does, he just deflects, or he straight up contradicts himself. Brother is a question says that's why it's an inside job. There are journalists investigating it. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, you know. I mean, maybe it's because, again, I'm just speculating here. It's possible that a lot of people inside Netanyahu's circle does not like Netanyahu. So they want him gone. So maybe these are intelligence officers from Mossad, but they also don't want to straight up kill Netanyahu. So they're trying to get rid of him in a smart way by using Hamas and whatnot. It's possible. But again, it's just conspiracy theory. But who knows? There may be some evidence that might come out.
Respect full grown men to do. What do you expect full grown men to do? You kill all their families and leave them walking in open air.
respond. The last time that Jewish people faced an existential threat was in World War II. And the Nazis, who wanted to take over the world and kill every Jewish person, the Nazis were ultimately defeated by Winston Churchill leading the Allies. And Winston Churchill, in the process of defeating the Nazis, killed a lot of German innocent civilians in the process. Do you think that was justified?
Let me ask a question.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So he constantly brings up this example of what happened during World War II. Here's my response, right? Here's my response. Let me make myself a bit bigger, right? Here's my response. So, because the thing is that they will always bring up this example, which is the example of World War II, right? Because Churchill, let me take out this. Churchill also did the same thing in Dresden and other places in Germany, where they completely carpet bombed the whole area, right? Was that justified? Now, first of all, this is a completely false equivalence, okay? Because the Nazi Germany and Palestine is not the same, okay? Nazi Germany was a military machine that was almost unstoppable. Palestinians are not. They can barely defend themselves. They don't have Iron Dome. They don't have even have a functioning military. They can barely defend themselves. The two sides are not the same. Where in the case of the Nazis, not only were they capable, they almost defeated most of the European countries. They conquered most of the European countries. So the two sides are not the same. Also, the Nazis were not, occupied people. Like they were not living inside the concentration camps. Palestinians are. People in Gaza are. their food and survival did not depend on the Europe, right? They're somewhat independent. So all of these factors show that like that the comparison is so stupid. You can't compare the two. So when they're bombing like German cities, Nazi Germany has the capacity to stop that. They have a functioning military, but still, even then, if we're being completely consistent, also this happened. By the way, this happened. This is another thing. Here he's committing the historian's fallacy, which is basically he's trying to judge a time period where such principles were not enacted in law, right? Because this is the thing is that this is before this international law came to be. So at that time, Churchill didn't have this prerogative, unless he was like a Muslim, to not kill civilians, right? Because that was just a given thing. Now, under Islamic law, this has been known that you should not kill civilians, even from the beginning. This again shows why Islam is the truth, because we have certain moral principles that has been enshrined, that West caught up to like thousands of years later, right? So again, so back to the main point, which is that Churchill at the time clearly could not have known this is actually morally wrong to kill civilians. Also, some people could argue that Churchill himself was not that much of a good guy. Anyway, like he also did some very shady things. Like for example, the area that I live in, Bangladesh, in Bengal region, he caused a famine. They mocked people who were dying because of the famine. You guys can Google Bengal famine. So he's not like the best representative. But even if I was to like steelman Churchill's position, I would say that at that time it was not a well-established principle that you cannot really kill civilians. That was established after, when all this, in order to, as a result of what happened in World War II, because people did not want to kill this many civilians. Of course, in Islam, we already knew this, because the Prophet said you should not kill civilians, but they didn't know that. They had to figure it out thousands of years later. But the point is that first of all, the two sides are not the same. Nazi Germany is not the same as Palestinians, who have nothing to defend themselves with. Number two, at the time, this is a historian's fallacy, because at the time, this kind of laws didn't exist that protected civilians from damage. And number three is, even if I were to accept all of this, that yeah, they also, and even if the laws did exist, then yeah, Churchill was wrong. Churchill was wrong, and this is exactly what Ahmadinejad said, that Churchill was wrong. He's a war criminal by today's standard. But of course, at his time, these standards didn't exist, and he was not a Muslim. So again, we can give him some benefit of the doubt. But if these laws did exist and Churchill did do this, then yeah, he's wrong. Either way, it's not a good point. And this doesn't justify what Israel is doing. What Israel is doing is still wrong, based on its own standard. But anyway. Okay. Let's go back.
Well, I asked the question, was it justified?
Sir, I believe. And let me just get this right in my head.
Yeah, think about it.
No, I don't even think about your question. I believe that the Nazis, which were all
That's so true. He doesn't need to.
obviously heinous. I'm not advocating anything that is disgusting. The Nazis. I'm glad we beat them. I'm actually a huge
Well, they're
fan.
terrorists.
Yeah, they were.
Right.
So I believe that they.
So when you massacre Jewish people, you're terrorists. Except when you do it in Israel.
When you try and conduct genocide on a populace because you don't want them on land you say is yours, then you are terrorists.
Exactly what Hamas did on October
Exactly what
7th.
Israel did before that.
So you literally just described what Hamas do.
You just described what Israel do. They're trying to genocide the Palestinians as we speak. And this is the exact point.
So
This is-
Israel,
no, but this is
why do you think Israel are terrorists?
I think that what they're doing now is disproportionate
Is it
genocide.
terrorism?
It's genocidal, so I guess that makes terrorism.
Right, so they're terrorists for responding to an act of terror, but the people who committed the act of terror are not
The
terrorists.
way in which they're
You see the
responding.
problem?
Look at the way he's framing it, right? So basically, what Andrew Tate is saying is that the way Israel, which is a well-oiled machine and a military superpower, the way they're behaving, when they easily could get rid of all the civilian casualties, they can easily do that. They have the capability to do that, right? But they're not doing it, which can only lead to the explanation that they're doing it on purpose. They want to kill as many civilians as possible because they hate Arabs. So instead of taking that angle, he's saying that, oh, so does it mean that? I'm sorry, I cannot do the British accent. He's like, so does it mean that when Hamas attacks them, they're not a terrorist, but when Israel does it, they're a terrorist. You're a hypocrite. No, this doesn't mean he's a hypocrite. It just means that he looks at things consistently. Because the thing is that when Hamas is doing it, there are occupied people that have the right to go on the offensive, right? Where Israel have no right to go on the offensive because they're occupying their land, right? Now you could argue that some Hamas fighters have broken international law. That is valid criticism, and those Hamas fighters should be brought to justice, right? But what you cannot argue is that what Hamas did in October 7th in its entirety is wrong because they do have the right to of armed retaliation based on international law because they are occupying their land. So the two sides are not the same. What is happening is that you have a bunch of very powerful military machine, which is the West and Israeli side. They're forcing the native Palestinians into concentration camps, and when they're fighting back, they're killing more of their people. That's what's happening. And instead of framing it like that, instead he's framing it as if like the Israelis were just sitting around, doing nothing. They were just innocent, these innocent victims. They're just playing. I don't know what do they play in Israel? They're playing football. They're just chilling, and this like evil kind of like hummus terrorist just came and ruined their day. That's not what happened. Okay, so it's a completely dishonest way of framing the question. But what is you expect? Right, let's continue.
No,
Really?
Piers, what they are doing now.
Slaughtering 1,500 people in the way they did it is not an act of terror by terrorists, but a response from the people.
So he's saying that killing like 1,000 people is not act of terrorist. First of all, not all 1,000 of them were like civilians. Some of them were like military people, and also we know that they try to distinguish between civilian and military. So they're not trying to kill like everyone. And in some cases that did happen. In those cases, those particular cases, yeah, that was wrong. But again, you have to look at the intent. Their intent is to fight against occupying forces, the occupiers. They're fighting against the occupiers, but Israel is fighting the oppressed, the occupied people. The two things are not the same.
On the receiving end, rather like the response to the Allies did in World War II, what the Nazis did, that apparently is the only act of terrorism.
Didn't you say 12,000 people Israelis killed thus far?
Yes.
I saw a video of a 15-year-old girl with no legs begging to die.
Yeah.
She was begging to die saying, I have no future because my parents are gone, my legs are gone,
It's
I have no
horrific.
future. No, but you say that, right? You talk about numbers and statistics, and you say a few people got caught. You don't think of Gazans, and you don't think of as Muslims and Palestinians as individual people.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do.
So he actually hit a very good point, which is true. They don't, and not just him, the West in general don't view Palestinians as people. They just see them as numbers. And how do you know this? Because of the question that he just asked him right now. He asked him, like, would you accept it if this happened to you, where you have one criminal in your house and your building, and they bomb your whole building? Like, would you accept that? And the answer is no, which shows that they make a distinction between their own people versus the people they're fighting. People they're fighting, they don't see them as human. This is why they're so callous with them, right? They don't care about their life. But in the case of Israel, it's even worse because they have shown genocidal intent. They've openly said that they want to kill as many Palestinians as possible. And they did not say it's because of Hamas. They said they just want to kill Palestinians. They said things like, if they hurt one Israeli, we will kill 1,000. We'll make 1,000 Palestinian mothers cry. That's a direct quote of one of their ministers. Another minister said that, they're not even human. So these are clear genocidal intent, but you don't see intent like this from the Palestinian side. What you see is they're actually releasing hostages because of a poor health condition, right? So the two sides are not the same.
If you did, you might be happy with what's
Don't you dare say
happening.
that about
And here he's saying that, oh no, but we see them as human. Really? If you saw them as human beings, then you would treat them the same, but you don't. You dehumanize them by trying to justify this clear genocide.
Don't
No,
put
no,
them
no.
together in numbers.
No,
I'm not
I've
numbers.
spoken for many years about the fight for Palestinian people. I think it's outrageous that Israel has any control over their ability to function with water, with fuel, with other energy, and so on.
Okay,
Food.
that's interesting. So if you were in Gaza as a Gazan male, masculine, fighting aid, and you believe the things you currently believe,
Yeah.
what would you do? I'm just asking.
You know what? Nothing justifies the terrorism.
I never said you were terrorist. I'm asking what you
No,
do.
no. I understand why people.
By the way, did you notice he can't answer a single question? He asked him, like, if you're like in the situation of a male in Gaza who don't have a job, who can't get food, you have no future, no past, present, no future, and you tried protesting peacefully and you get shot, like, what do you do in that situation, other than try to fight the occupiers? And he doesn't answer the question.
people in Palestine feel oppressed. I understand why they want freedom. I understand why they want the same rights as the people in Israel.
Then here's the perfect
On that we agree. But
Absolutely
nothing,
agree.
but nothing justifies what happened on
Well,
October.
here's where we disagree. As a professional, when we both
By the way, again, doesn't answer the question. He asked him, like, oh, what do you do in this situation? Why did you answer the question? He said, oh, nothing just about October 7. Okay, but what do you do in this situation? That's like, he can't answer the question.
agree on the point that people inside of Gaza are being oppressed and their life is being detrimented
Yep.
and that they have no way of getting out.
Yes.
We as a professional,
And I do agree with that.
I understand pressure cookers explode. You're pretending they shouldn't. You're saying that they should never explode. Nothing bad should never
Saying
happen.
nothing justifies
We
terrorism.
should just be allowed to subjugate them
No,
for
no.
endless years
Here's
and
my-
nothing happens.
no.
And I'm a realist who understands pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a good point. This is a very good point, which is that basically, clearly, what they're saying is that they should just sit back and do nothing. No one would do that. Like, if my country was invaded and they put us into this kind of what can only be described as concentration camps, I have no food, water, job, I have to live in slums, I have to go a bit in the morning to get like food and medicine and basic supplies, and I can't find a job, and they're constantly bombing us. They're constantly, uh, you know, constantly bombing us, and like, and then when we try to protest, they shoot us. In that situation, of course, I'm gonna fight. Like, what does these people think? Again, like, do you guys notice? Like, he does not answer a single question Brother Andrew Tate posed to him. Not a single one. Brother Ezra says, Piers gone places and suddenly get back to 7th October. Yeah, exactly. So,
Pressure cookers explode,
No, you're
and
not.
that's what
No, you're
happens.
not.
We need a solution to the problem. I will continue that.
You're not a realist because actually you are not accepting that what they did on October 7th was an act of terrorism by terrorists. You won't accept that. You think actually they're freedom fighters doing some kind of resistance. And I say that is ridiculous
God.
and shameful. That's the difference between us.
I understand the pressure cookers explode.
Right. So you think it's
so the October 7 fallacy. Like, he doesn't see anything beyond October 7. I think if he has a calendar, it probably only has October 7 written on it.
perfectly reasonable what
I
happened.
think it's reasonable. I think it's a shame.
Natural consequence.
I think it's.
A shame. That's
I
it.
think it's a shame that we're living in the world now where people are reduced to basically suicide to try and fight for freedom for their families if they have one left, because they all committed suicide. Those men who did that.
Well,
Because
that's-
they didn't have a chance of survival. I think when you
Well, that's because they believe that they're martyrs themselves.
so
They're going to
you
life.
oppress people to the point where their families then they have nothing to live for.
So
I think that's a shame.
So you support Islamic fundamentalism?
Absolutely not.
You support an Islamist ideology?
Absolutely not.
Right.
What I
Look at these loaded questions. Like, do you support Islamic fundamentalism? I mean, even if it is, so what? That's a good thing. You should be a fundamentalist when it comes to Islam, because Islam is the thing that says that you should not kill civilians. So if he's a fundamentalist, he believes that he should not, you should not kill civilians. But when it comes to these savages, these freaks, they don't believe that civilians should be killed. So, like, if you're a fundamentalist, then you're the person that has the better moral high ground. I think your brother Andrew Tate, I'll levy a little bit of criticism here. I think he should have just said that, yeah, I'm a Muslim fundamentalist. If you think that's what Islamic fundamentalism is, then yeah, I'm an Islamic fundamentalist. Because here, clearly, I have the moral high ground. I think he should have said that instead. But instead, he just kind of like retracted. I don't think he should have done that. But, it's in the heat of the moment, so.
So why do you support Hamas?
I support justice in
You
the
support
universe.
Hamas?
I support justice in the universe.
Do you support Hamas?
No.
You don't.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of Hamas's creed. I can be very
You know
honest.
what they did on October 7th. You support them?
I understand why that happened. I'm saying it's a shame.
You won't denounce them.
I say it's a shame.
Will you condemn them?
I can't sit here and condemn the obvious outcome of consequence.
Really?
How can I
You
condemn?
can't condemn Hamas for what they did.
Well, we know what's going to happen, and we need a solution.
You're very quick to condemn Israel's response, but you won't condemn the terror attack that prompted it.
No, I'll tell you why.
Even
Again, like, the two sides are not the same. Like, Israel is a superpower, a military superpower that can conduct operations without harming any civilians, or at least avoiding harming any civilians. Palestinians are not so much. Like, Palestinians don't have any proper military, and when they do, clearly they're not going to be very well organized, which is probably why a lot of these atrocities happen, because they didn't do kind of like this kind of surgical operation before. So I think a lot of the soldiers probably made mistakes and killed civilians. But then again, like, and this doesn't justify, like, and also, like, one side is clearly a well-oiled machine, the other side isn't. One side is violating international law and occupying their lands, the other side isn't. One side is shooting innocent kids and protesters, when the other side isn't. So, like, who's the bad guy here? Now, I'm not saying like Hamas is like perfect, but again, if you compare the two, clearly one side is actually the terrorist, where the other side may have made some mistakes, and it can be rectified under international law. But what the other side is doing cannot be. There's no justification for this. So the two sides are not the same. One side is clearly oppressed, and the other side is the oppressor, which is the Israeli side. They have the power, and they're committing more crimes, and the Palestinians are the biggest victims.
No, Hamas knew by doing what they were doing, that would be the response.
Do you think they knew that?
Of course they knew that.
think they knew the
They did
Israelis-
it quite deliberately. You know why? Because they were funded and supported by Iran. They didn't like the fact that Israel was normalizing relations with a bunch of Arab countries. So the UAE, Bahrain.
So they come up with these conspiracy theories. Iran. The only reason they did this is because of Iran. Let's ignore the fact that they're being starved. Ignore the fact that they have no job. Ignore the fact that they're shooting protesters when they peacefully protest. Ignore the fact that they storm Al-Aqsa Mosque. Ignore all of that. Just look at October 7, October 7. So on.
Morocco, and then coming down the line was going to be Saudi Arabia. That was a threat to the Iran view of what should be happening in that region. Iran are the ones who support and fund and arm Hamas, and they clearly, in my estimation, it hasn't been properly established yet, but clearly Hamas couldn't have done this on their own. They've done it with support from Iran, and they've done it and committed an act of such heinous atrocity that they knew what the response would be, and that means that
Again, there's no evidence for any of this. It's just conspiracy theory.
they sentenced in that moment not just 1,500 people in Israel to death in the most appalling
No, I don't doubt that Iran supports Hamas, but I highly doubt that's the reason they went on a strike.
manner possible, but they also sentenced to death thousands and thousands of innocent
The thing is that why would Iran want a war with Israel anyway? Because right now, I don't know if you guys know, right now there's a turmoil going on in Iran. There's a movement against the government. So in this situation, obviously, there's a good reason to believe that they would not try to rattle any feathers because they're not in a good political position. So it's very unlikely that they would somehow attack Israel unprovoked. I think what happened is that the Palestinian authorities or the Hamas saw what happened in Masjid al-Aqsa, what they did, how they attacked there, how they beat up peaceful people who was just praying, and they got angry. They also saw how they're killing all their civilians in Gaza. They're shooting them on sight. Again, they got angry, so they decided to retaliate. And they probably thought that the Arab countries would support them, but sadly, it didn't happen. And I think that's the best explanation. This is a response out of emotion rather than some kind of strategic, I don't know, like some kind of conspiracy thing.
Including many innocent children, because half the population are children, and Hamas knew that was what was going to happen. So my question is, how can anyone think that Hamas is a force for good?
I said they're a force for good.
They are a force
I said they're
for evil.
unfortunate. No, I didn't say they're a force for good. I said it's a pressure cooker and it's a shame.
You want to
Let me
condemn
ask a question. Do you think if we gave Palestinian people basic human rights?
Also, another thing, the way he's phrasing this question, he's constantly dehumanizing Hamas and Hamas members. Because do you guys notice how he constantly phrases his questions to make it seem like somehow Hamas is not like people? They have no rationality. They have no rational thought. They're just evil barbarians that just want to kill Jews. Obviously, that's not true. If you look at history of Hamas, they used to be a charity organization. They started out as a charity organization. Obviously, they're not like this all the time. They're clearly responding to violent aggression. Again, this doesn't justify. I'm not trying to make it seem like everything that happened in October 7 was right, but it doesn't matter. You can clearly show that they had intent to do a military operation and it just went wrong, right? As opposed to they're trying to eradicate all of Israel or whatever. They couldn't anyway, and they had no way of knowing that people would come out in their support. It could have been that it's completely unreported, So yeah, it's just very dumb. Sorry about that, guys. The Sorry about that, guys. The stream crashed for for I don't know how long. I lost the internet connection. Don't worry, I'm back. So we're gonna get back right into it. Again, apologies for this. Really sorry about that. There was an internet problem. So let's finish this off, inshallah.
I think probably we treat them like humans. I think so we agree. Let's move on.
I think there's a real danger in the scale of Israel's response that you radicalize a whole new generation of
Agreed.
Palestinians. I think that's a real danger.
So
And
perhaps-
by the way, I've said that. We can agree on
So
that.
perhaps it was Israel's actions before October 7th that radicalized the soldiers. So you agree?
Yeah,
No, I
exactly.
don't. No, nothing justifies what they did. Let me ask you about the reaction that you.
That's a good point. And he just completely turned back around. By the way, Brother Reza, no, the stream is not over yet. I just lost the internet connection for a brief second. Not brief second, like nearly 2 minutes. Again, apologies for this. Sorry for the technical difficulty, guys. I'm back now. Well, let's continue. Shall we?
You've had from certain people who I think at one stage.
Oh, yeah.
You had a good
Speaking of which, so yeah, that's actually a very good point, which is that, which is basically saying that, let me make it a bit bigger. Yeah. So basically, which is saying that, he was saying that, if what Israel is doing, if they continue to do what they're doing, then they're only going to further radicalize Palestinians, which is true. However, you can say the same thing about the Israelis before October 7, which is that they were also going around killing innocent people, shooting little kids, putting people in jail without trial, putting Palestinians in jail without trial. All of this could also lead to their radicalization. The fact that they are illegally occupying their lands, constantly subjugating them, can also lead them to be radicalized. So Israel as a whole is the problem here. And Piers here, Piers Morgan, the gentleman that he is, refuses to acknowledge this. He refuses to acknowledge this.
good relationship with. One is Jordan Peterson, and the other one Ben Shapiro. Let's talk about Jordan first. You've had a bit of a to and fro with him, but what is your view of him?
I think Jordan and I actually agree on many issues. I think the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think we have a lot more in common than we have that we disagree on. We have different views of the world on certain things. I think we approach him from different places. He's far more in his mind, where I'm more in a physical realm than he does. I have nothing against Jordan. I don't dislike him. I do find it, I must be honest, a bit disingenuous and hypocritical that he speaks mental strength and then ends up addicted to an antidepressant. I don't think you never take antidepressants ever. I've been through worse than what he's been through, and I didn't take a single drug. However, I have nothing against the guy. He says very intelligent things, and I'd be interested to argue with him or discuss or debate with him. But I think we actually agree on most points, to be honest. I don't think we. I mean, he may be unhappy with somehow how I've lived my life and some things I've done, but we've already discussed the fact that I come from the lowest income area of the UK, and most people around me were selling drugs, so at least I didn't do that. So I'm not going to allow somebody who's a professor at a university who's had an easy life come along and tell me how people from the streets should survive. You have
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, Jordan Peterson is doing, like, damage control mode. He put out, like, bunch of videos where he's trying to justify his position in regards to Gaza. And that guy's also, like, a complete weasel, if I'm being completely honest.
to find a way out.
Jordan Peterson.
But I have nothing against the guy. I just think that he's been a bit hypocritical. And then, truthfully, the only time I've been genuinely a bit appalled by his actions was the tweet he made on Israel-Palestine. He said, give them hell. I know that's an easy thing to say, and it's an expression that people use, and they throw around flippantly. But I think when you actually wish hell upon other human beings, I think it's a disgusting thing to do, because hell is that 15-year-old girl with no legs and her parents were dead.
Well, hell is-
you see her crying her eyes out, begging to die. That is hell. And I don't think you should genuinely wish hell on anyone, Israel or Palestinian. Either, anyone. I'm a humanist. I don't want anybody to die.
Well, he did- he
and when
did-
he was wishing hell on an entire population.
He did express regret for the way he phrased
and he
it.
should.
And he was
Because it's disgusting. I've not wished hell on the Israelis. I'm not
Yeah, exactly. Like, because the thing is, the only reason how do you know the only reason he said, give him hell? So yeah, basically, so he put out a tweet where he said that give him hell, right? I think I responded to it, and then later on he apologized and said, that, oh, what I mean is to give the Hamas fighters that were responsible for this hell, right? But the reason, how do I know that the only reason he said that is because he faced backlash, right? It's not because he's sincere or he actually cares about Palestinians. I highly doubt it.
wish hell on the Israeli state. I don't want any Israeli civilian to go through that 15.
Okay, sorry about that. Guys, we're having some technical difficulties. In case I cannot like go offline or something like that, please know that it's because I'm. Okay, seems like I'm back. Let's give it a few seconds. Anyway, I think he's gonna talk about Ben Shapiro next.
Wrong. I think that he's hypocritical because of the anti-depressant problem, and I think that the fact he wishes hell on other humans because he gets emotionally involved in a conflict, which within 2 minutes of it sparking off, he's wishing genocide. I think that says a lot about his personality. But overall, when he speaks at length, a lot of things he says are pretty well thought through and pretty constructive.
Let me
I'm nothing against it.
Let me turn to Ben Shapiro. So let me assure you, as someone who's not pimped women and bragging about it, morality requires those who rape women and kidnap women must be eradicated, not negotiated. He says, on my show, I won't be lectured on morality and toughness like Andrew Tate. His great idea of toughness, morality, pimping women and bragging about it on air, and then trying to quasi-walk it back while simultaneously maintaining many of the same positions and flexing his biceps.
Yeah, I mean, like Ben Shapiro is like one of the whiny babies I've ever seen. And the guy can't hold his conversation. Like he refuses to debate actual people who knows about anything about this, and he constantly like attacks people like Andrew Tate, people like Muhammad Hijab. Not attacks, but like attacks college students. Like refuses to debate anybody worth mentioning. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to end the stream here because it seems like I'm facing a lot of problems in terms of the internet. By the way, if you guys haven't, please subscribe to the channel. And apologies for this, but I'm just facing some problems in terms of the internet connections. Oh, it's back, I think. All right, let's see if I can finish this. Let's hope I can.
Is they want more for an open discourse, even if people I think are dead wrong on a lot of issues. Andrew Tate is dead wrong on a lot of these issues. And the particularly ridiculous posturing about being yes, you're very tough and you want people to make peace with terrorists who just murdered their children. Very, very tough. What do you say to that?
So Ben is a warmonger. Ben has been wrong on basically every.
So again, like look at how Ben Shapiro is talking, right? He's saying that every single Hamas member is responsible for killing all the innocent civilians in October 7th, which is not true. Again, we saw videos of Hamas member not doing that. So we don't know which ones were involved with the atrocities and which ones weren't. So again, like he's committing history generalization affairs, whereas he's just generalizing all Palestinians and all Arabs, which is obviously fallacious. But you can't do that. Like, brother, if I were to do that, then I have to say the same thing about Israelis. All Israelis are evil. I can also say that. But obviously, that would be illogical. But yeah, this guy's a genocidal warmonger, Ben Shapiro. But
every single issue you can name. He was with you with the vaccine and every other war. Ben's always calling for other people's young men to go and die in some war. He seems to love it. None of a short man syndrome. He's always behind his desk calling about how important it is that big strong men like me go and die.
yeah, exactly. He's the whiniest crybaby I've ever seen. Like he just said, why does what proportionality? Israel should kill everybody. So stupid. He's such a whiny baby.
I said that because when Hamas and Israel, very early in the conflict, he was 3 days in, were discussing possible peace talks. He tweeted, "No, absolutely not. Fuck them. Kill them all." And I said, Ben, as a man who's done his own fighting, I've had a life of pain and violence. Listen to me. Peace is always worth a conversation. What I said is that we should always be prepared to at least discuss peace. He, because he's a warmonger, said, no, peace is not worth a conversation. You're this, you're that, because he's always sitting behind his desk. He must have a booster chair. And he's always running his mouth trying to invoke violence and call for war. And I find it kind of hypocritical because.
Yeah, I mean, like this is basically Ben Shapiro and most of the like this so-called conservative movement in the West, which is that they love to pump their chest when in reality most of the people have never been to war. They're not actual veterans. Now, obviously, there are some. But most of these people that are pumping their chest, they have not suffered a war in their life. They've not seen war in their life. Yet they'll send their men to fight for them, to send them to be killed, and to what's happening even worse. When you look at the situation for the Palestinians, they don't have a choice but to fight. They don't have a choice but to fight because they don't have any other options. If they want to survive and stay in their own home, they have to fight. But these people, they have no reason to support the genocide, and yet they're doing so. They're telling other Jewish men, to go out there and die. For what? So yeah, he's just calling out the hypocrisy here, and he does a really good
so
job.
Small, he would die if he was slapped on the street, sitting behind a desk, screaming.
That's so true. Ben Shapiro would die if he was slapped. As a matter of fact, I don't think he needs to be slapped. He just, I feel like if he sees Muhammad Hijab in real life, he's gonna faint. Or if he sees Andrew Tate, he's gonna faint. He has like bodyguards that walks around with him. So,
for other people to be annihilated. I think it's kind of, it's worse.
I believe
it's insane.
I believe if he was sitting and listening to this, he would say that what he's screaming for is for Jewish people in Israel to defend themselves.
All Ben does is call for war, and I agree.
Yeah, this is another point that I forgot to cover. And they also always bring up this point of defense. And I already made a community tab where it clarified this, which is that the word defense does not mean that you bomb and level an entire city. That is not what the word defense means. Defense, in most dictionary terms, means when you try to defend yourself when you're being attacked. Okay, so you going into another country bombing that area, that civilian population, and kill them, starve them, that's not defending yourself. Okay? Even if you have a situation where you have some Hamas fighters there, it's not consistent that you have to bomb the whole area, because uh, you know, it's still illegal to kill civilians, so they're still committing a crime. That's not defending yourself, that's going on the offensive. At worst, even if you think that's justified, you cannot say that's defending, or that's defense. That's clearly a war crime. So no, Israel is not defending themselves.
That's all he does. That's all he does. And calling for war and defending yourself is very different than genocide. And Ben, like I said, overall, most of Ben's worldviews and mine probably align. We don't align on the religious sect. We don't align on religious points. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. Committing a genocide is very different than defending yourself.
But our overall worldviews of how society should function probably align on many of the key issues. I don't have a beef with Ben, and I don't watch his show, and I have no idea what he talks about a lot of the time. But what I do know is every time I
He just whines. That's what he does. Ben Shapiro just whines. That's all he does. He whines about the left, the woke, whatever, right? But cannot bring any proper constructive criticism against their position. He just kind of like strawmans them. One of the worst debaters I've ever seen. Not very good, and just whining about Andrew Tate, whining about Zionist, trying to defend Zionism, and his defense is so bad, misrepresenting history. He's just so stupid, and refuses to debate Norman Finkelstein or anyone, or Mohammad Jawar for that matter. Just runs away, and then beats his chest as if like he's some big hero.
People who are not advocates for peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, said Candace, who's far more intelligent than Ben will ever be. And she is completely right. He replied that rhetoric, starting an argument with me, when I said we should talk about peace. I said we should talk about peace. He calls for the death of civilians, and somehow we're asking why my point of view is seen as abstract. It's insane.
Yeah,
why can't we all
exactly.
sit down and say the fighting must end? Why can't we do that? Why can't we sit and say nobody should be dying? Let's stop using the most advanced military weaponry on the planet to blow the limbs off children. Why can't we say that without being deemed some kind of terrorist sympathizer or anti-Semite? It's insane.
Yeah, if you just take a pause and then look at the situation, even if you don't like Andrew Tate, I don't think anyone can argue with the things he's saying here. You should not kill civilians. It doesn't matter whether Hamas does it, whether it's done by Israelis. Clearly, in the situation of simply killing civilians, Israel have killed more civilians, right? So he is right, even if you don't like, Andrew Tate. Anyway, let's continue.
Trump came along and didn't start a single war. He's the only one who didn't. And they're going to come along and say make him a bad guy. When a new president comes in, it's just endless war and death and killing. Have you seen a dead body, Piers? Have you seen people lose a fucking limb? It's disgusting. I know what's happening over there.
Have you seen it?
I don't need to tell you about the parts of my history that I'm not prepared to share, Piers.
You've
But
seen
I said it to
people-
bed. I said people who've done their own fighting and seen their own violence and have seen people bleed out in the street from a stab wound are not going to be so smart and so quick to sit behind a desk and call for the death of innocent people. It's disgusting what's happening. I don't want anyone to die on either side. And when I come along as a peacemaker and say this is insane because he's a warmonger, because he
Also,
has
like,
chosen.
what is this
blinkers,
logic? He says that, oh, have you seen a dead body? Have you seen a dead body? Like, yeah, we have seen a dead bodies. We've seen countless dead bodies in Gaza. We've seen the pictures. We've seen the videos. Unlike you, we didn't just see atrocities on one side. We see atrocities on more atrocities on one side than the other side. So that's a very dumb
One
question.
side of the argument and refuses to accept the humanity of Palestinians. He says I'm a bad person for calling for peace.
You know why? Because you probably listen to this interview and say, this guy can't even describe Hamas as terrorists.
Oh my God! Like most of the world doesn't. Okay, so I'm just posting a comment on the comment section. So basically, there's a technical difficulty. There were some issues with the internet, so I couldn't. So the stream crashed, but I'm back now, alhamdulillah. So
If
let's
Ben
continue.
Shapiro thinks that,
And if you don't think what happened to the people in Israel on October 7th is an act of
did
terrorism,
I not just say?
Oh, brother, Walid Saqib is here. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Walaikum salam, bro. How are you? Welcome to the stream. You missed some fun parts. I just crashed a few minutes ago, but I'm back, alhamdulillah.
you
I want all
are,
people
then
to
you are
stop
just you are just as partisan to one side as you believe Ben Shapiro
Did I
is to
not
the
just
other.
say I want all people to start dying? Stop dying. Piers, don't interrupt this. It's 2 sentences. I want all people to stop dying. However, I understand what is going to happen when we create a pressure cooker. That is my answer. It's extremely professional. I don't want anyone to die. And because I don't want anyone to die, because I'm a peacemaker, because I'm a humanist, I understand you cannot lock people in open air prison for an undetermined period of time without provoking
So out
terrorism.
of interest, what would you have done if you'd been Israel after October 7th?
It's a really interesting
But did you notice he doesn't answer a single question that Andrew Tate asks him? Andrew Tate asks him, "Oh, would you do what Israel has done if this happened in your own home? If your own home got taken over by terrorists, would you bomb your own home?" And he doesn't answer it. And then he asks him like things like, "What would you do if you were in the situation of a male in Gaza, where all of your family members have died? You're under a complete blockade. You cannot go out there. You have no past, present, or future, and when you try to peacefully protest, they shoot at you, right? So what do you do in this situation? He doesn't answer the question. He doesn't answer a single question and you asked him. He does the same thing with Muhammad Hijab. He doesn't answer a single question. And he just constantly asking him, right? Or this dumb question, which he answered, and he keeps asking them. So stupid. Piers Morgan is completely disingenuous in the way he conducts.
Question. And I think there's people who are more qualified than you to answer.
Given that Hamas last week said, we're going to try and do the same thing again and again and again, what would you do to defend the people of Israel?
Good question. They have the Iron Dome, which is largely effective. I think that their border security is usually effective. It's very interesting that it wasn't on
So you would say
Again, why is Hamas saying that? Like, he's just saying, oh, Hamas is saying they're going to do it again, again, again. Yeah, because Israel is the occupying force. They have to fight them. They're in their land illegally. Like, what are they supposed to do? Just give them flowers? What an idiot.
they would do nothing other than tighten up security.
I think if I was truthfully, I'll answer the question. If I was truthfully in charge of Israel, I would have found out how our border was penetrated. I would have made sure that was impossible to do. I would have had large conversations and discourse during that period, which would probably take weeks to ensure my border was impenetrable because we were at no genuine threat to repeat that. And then I would make it clear that there will be some repercussion unless there will be some repercussion unless we come to peace terms. I don't think
Hamas doesn't want peace.
Of course not. But I'm saying
That's a stated position.
Of course.
That's also false. Hamas have offered ceasefire multiple times. They have offered ceasefire right after October 7. They have offered, they've made peaceful offers before then as well. Their stated goal is clearly that they want to go back to the 67 borders and they want the right of return for the Palestinians that were displaced. If these two conditions are met, then they don't have anything to fight for, right? Or also the blockade to be lifted. So if these things are met, then they have nothing left to fight for, right? But of course, Israel will never do that because if Palestinians actually return, then they would actually outnumber the Jewish residents. In that case, it's no longer a country for the Jewish people only, because that's what they want. They want a country only for the Jewish people, or they want to have a country where only the Jewish people are in power. So this exposes their hypocrisy.
Okay, you asked me what I do. I would have found out. First things first, I'm a man. So first things first, fix the problem. Okay. Our border's been penetrated. How do we make sure that doesn't happen again? How will it happen? Internal investigation. Let's make sure the border's secure. Now our civilians are safe. Our civilians are safe, which buys us time. Let's have a conversation and see if we can actually reason with them. If we can't, then there might be some military intervention. But there certainly wouldn't be bombing hospitals, crews missiling refugee camps. There wouldn't be any of the things that's going on now. Absolutely.
You wouldn't try to attack the people.
No, because this is a rushed and emotional response. And that's why I would have prevented. I would have made sure as a man I didn't make a rushed and emotional response.
So you'd be more like Neville Chamberlain, trying to do peace with the Nazis and Winston Churchill trying to kill them.
Oh my God, this guy. Okay. So again, like the Nazi comparison is just so dumb. This guy's so dumb. Like I can't describe like how many times he called like the Hamas like Nazis. It's so stupid. Like, no, they're not like Nazis. Okay, you know why? Because Nazi Germany was a military superpower. Okay, they successfully defeated some of the best militaries in the world. They had tanks, weapons you can't even begin to think about, right? As a matter of fact, at that time, it almost seemed impossible to beat the Nazi Germany, Nazi army. That's not the case with the Palestinians. They have nothing to defend themselves with. Hamas have some rockets that barely does any damage. So the idea that the two things are the same is completely false. Also, we have no evidence to suggest that some Hamas wants to eradicate all Jewish people. They literally said they have nothing against Jewish people. They only want to fight the occupiers. Also, Nazi Germany was not, again, I said this before, I have to repeat it again. Nazi Germany was not, or Nazi Germans were not living in a concentration camps. Okay, so it's just dumb. This is such a dumb comparison. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah,
that's an interesting question.
You're an appeaser, not a warrior.
Well, I still think I'm a warrior, but I think that when you're a warrior, you have to be very capable and.
So that's what Neville Chamberlain's view was. We should do peace with the Nazis.
You have to be very understanding of your power, and you have to use it responsibly. Just like I said earlier, when I'm trying to be responsible about what I say to the young men of the world, I would understand as Israel, I must be responsible with my massive military might to make sure I don't kill civilians. And I would sit and try to make a measured response, and I'd be a professional, and I would consider them human beings, and I would secure my border, and try and come up with a plan better than, oh no, I'm mad, I'm emotional now, let's go kill everyone. I think that's the wrong response. Correct. I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, it's the most rational response you can make. Just think about what's happening here. Oh no. And he's saying that actually, you know what, you should not commit war crimes. And here this guy is saying, no, you should commit war crimes. Like, that itself tells you everything.
we've spent a long time talking. You're going to find out at some stage today or in a few days whether you're going to get your possessions back, whether that'll happen or not happen. But then there's likely to be a trial, and that will determine how you spend the next 10 years of your life, almost certainly, which is a sobering thought for anyone. When you look back on the whole arc of the last few years, you've expressed some regret because of your turning to Islam, your change in your philosophy from a religious perspective. You've acknowledged that some of the stuff you used to do was immoral. Do you look at the journey you've gone on here and think that, in a way, notwithstanding the Matrix and everything else, that maybe you yourself could have done things differently to avoid being in this position?
Absolutely. I'm a man, I take absolute self-accountability. You have to, as a man, your superpower is looking in the mirror and understanding everything that happens to you, both good and bad, to a degree, is your fault. It could have all been influenced. I could have avoided all of this. I could have avoided the Matrix attacks. I could have avoided jail cell. You don't use that term. I could have avoided all the negative.
So, speaking of this, by the way, I do believe that brother Andrew Tate have made some changes, and I know that there are people who criticize some of the things he said. But again, he's a Muslim now, as far as I can see. No one's perfect, but and it seems like he does regret some of the things he did. So that's a good point.
I could have chosen to work in Starbucks and stay nowhere. I made choices that put me in this position. I take responsibility for them. I said things on the internet in a satirical way on videos with 110 views when YouTube was brand new. I did not expect to become the viral videos in the world. I didn't expect to become the most famous and known person on the planet. That's all true. I'm not saying I have no part to play in any of this. However, I can still say that I'm completely innocent. I can still say that it's only my fame and notoriety that has inspired the prosecution service to try to put me in jail in the first place. I can still say that there's some unfair policing in the world depending on the political perspective.
Again, like, it doesn't, like, even if you don't like Andrew Tate as a person, I hope that you guys can still see what he's saying is still correct in regards to Palestine, because the things he said is clearly logically sound. And like Piers Morgan is the one who's wrong because he refuses to answer any of his question.
I still say all of those things while accepting absolute responsibility for the situation I'm in.
Andrew Tate, thank you very much.
All right, that's the end of it. Oh wow, that was a long one. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And again, if you guys like the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and definitely subscribe, guys. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so that was the debate or discussion between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan. I think it was interesting and it was very good and productive. But also, I want to remind you guys of the points that I raised, which is this. Let me bring it up. There we go. When discussing or debating with any kind of like Zionist, these are the points that you have to first establish. And if you establish these points, I wholeheartedly believe if that person is sincere, they will no longer support Israel, or at least they cannot make any sound arguments against the Palestinian position, right? So first, you have to establish why Palestinian land belongs to the Palestinian Arabs. And you can mention that the Arabs are the native people to the land, native meaning people who lived in the land before the creation of the state. And also the British Empire promised the land to the Arabs, and I showed the article which they clearly said that they would help the Arabs fight the Ottomans, and they'll help them rebuild the lands that are disputed. And this includes Palestine. So basically they went back on their word. They violated their own treaty. But these are the reasons. Also, there are many other reasons, but like these are one of the main reasons, which is why Palestinian land belongs to the Palestinians. Then you have to show that they are clearly genocidal. They have genocidal intent. Show that they're an apartheid state, and they don't allow non-Jewish people to either live in the land or they have to live as second-class citizens, or and Palestinians. So basically, if you're a Jew, you can from anywhere in the world, you can go and live there. But if you're not Jewish, you cannot go and live there unless they allow it. And if you're Palestinian, then you can never visit it, right? And also they show genocidal intent, as I showed. They're constantly saying they're not humans. They're invoking stories in the Bible about massacres and genocide, which clearly shows genocidal intent. And of course, they're racist. They're constantly referred to Palestinians as Hamas, and they don't make any differentiations. They also say things like Palestinians are animals and disgusting racist things. And then obviously they're doing actions of a genocide. They have killed more civilians than militants. They took no action to minimize civilian casualties, according to Amnesty International. People in Gaza have nowhere to go, and they're still bombing them regardless, and which can only lead to genocide, and they're still doing it, which is clearly an action of committing genocide. They're blocking water, food, and medicine, and electricity. Again, another action of committing genocide, because clearly a person without these things cannot survive. So unless you have intention to, if you would only do this if you had the intention to kill them, kill all of them or kick them out, right? So again, shows genocidal intent and genocidal action. Again, they're bombing places that are supposed to be safe, therefore contradicting themselves. They're telling the Palestinians to go south. And then when they're going south, they're still bombing them. And then they will likely not respond to terrorism in their own country in such a way. Again, this again shows their genocidal action, because if this happened in their own country, they will not bomb like entire neighborhoods for like one criminal. And then if you compare this with like Hamas, you can clearly show that there is no evidence that show that Hamas have intention to kill all Jewish people. They even literally said in their recent 2017 manifesto, but they said that they have nothing against Jewish people. They tried to make distinction between civilians and IDF in October 7 in bunch of footage that we saw. They clearly said that you should reserve your bullets for the fighters. So that was also there. In another thing that you can show is that they clearly did not kill all the hostages, even though they had every reason to. As a matter of fact, they even let go many of the hostages due to health reasons. So all of these things prove that on one side they are trying to commit genocide. On the other side, they're not. They have a reasonable geopolitical complaint, and they have reasonable legal reason to go on the offensive, and they are doing that. So on the one side, you have a bunch of occupiers who are clearly committing genocide. On the other hand, you have a bunch of occupied people that are fighting back. So this is so obviously clear who's the good guy here. Like, I don't need to spell it out. Now, you could still criticize Hamas based on the fact that they have done some wrongs, right? Because civilians were killed. And if it can be proven in court, international court, and on a public trial, then yes, the Hamas fighters that were responsible for some of these atrocities, they should be brought to justice, both from an Islamic point of view and from a international law point of view. But what cannot be emphasized enough is that clearly, if you look at everything in context, the Hamas fighters have a legitimate reason to attack Israel, and what Israel is doing, there's no justification for this. For example, there's this thing called ribat in Islam, which is basically defending the land of the Muslims. For example, in a fatwa from islamicweb.net, it says the following: performing jihad by guarding the Muslims is called ribat. Ribat means guarding the frontiers and securing the borders of the Muslim lands in order to block the attack of the disbelievers. The Kuwaiti Encyclopedia of Fiqh reads, ribat means staying in a place beyond which there are no Muslim lands, where the enemies of Muslims are expected to attack, with the intention of warding off the enemy for the sake of Allah. So basically, what they're doing is can be called a form of ribat, where they're right now, especially where they're trying to defend their own land. So even if you think what they did in October 7 is wrong, or what some of them did in October 7 is wrong, what you cannot deny is that right now, they're still the good guys. Okay, they're still trying to defend their land. They're still trying to fight for the sake of Allah. And they're invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're constantly saying Allahu Akbar. And they're trying to defend an oppressed group of people. Even if you criticize Hamas, and even if you think what they did in October 7 is wrong, I don't think you can say that they're a terrorist group or they're doing something wrong here. Right now, they are the heroes in this story. But yeah, with that, I think I want to end this stream. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and constantly make dua for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. They are going through a lot right now, and do what you can. If you can donate, then please donate. Make dua, and just do what you can. If you want to, do other things, right, like not buying certain food or whatnot, just try to do what you can, inshallah, and hopefully may Allah also give victory to the Muslims and the ones who are fighting back against this Zionist kuffar. And yeah, I just hope let's make dua. And with that, I want to end the video. And again, thank you guys for watching. Like, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and share the video if you can. I might make some small sections and put out clips in the future, inshallah. My next video will probably be on Brother Rashid and his lies against Islam and the Prophet ﷺ and the night journey and some other things. Inshallah, it may take some time because it's an offline video. So, look out for that, inshallah. And yeah, with this, I want to end this video. Thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to subscribe and like, share the video. And yeah, with this, I want to end the video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me put up the intro and then all right, bye guys.